show? Did I say it's a Hoffman show? It's the Hoffman show on a Tuesday. What's up? What's happening? Craig Hoffman with you. Anthony Haney over there. Bopping, dancing, some Beyonce. I think that's a good call, Anthony. Let's start Tuesday with some Beyonce and see if we can get the vibes right, because it is a vibe check Tuesday. Anthony, also, I'm going to take you off camera while you fix your camera and fix your light. Now we can put Anthony back on, looking all fresh. You were, everyone just got a nice close-up of whatever logo's on Anthony's shirt because he was trying to fix his whole situation. You're a mess over there. I need to focus. It's a Vibe Check Tuesday. We're going to take the pulse of you, the fans, at 301-230-0980. After a very important win for the Washington Commanders, it gets them back to 500. It positions them, obviously, to try to go up to New York and handle business against the Giants team that is not very good and is injured like hell on the offensive line, which seems like it's a good setup for a team built around its defensive line. And, I think that this is a great opportunity for the Commanders moving forward to keep themselves competitive. And, everyone kind of looked at various portions of the schedule and were like, oh, my God, this is going to be so hard. This part here, that right now is a soft belly. And, the Eagles are coming in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be hard. But how beatable do the Patriots look right now? And I'm always nervous about having a young quarterback going against a Belichick defense because he destroys young quarterbacks. But right now, that's the worst Patriots team that he's ever put out on a field. So what does it look like in a couple of weeks? We'll see. I think that it seems like people aren't super psyched about the win in Atlanta, but that's why we do this. That's why we have our vibe checks on a Tuesday, 301-230-0980. That is where you call and you tell us how you feel about the Commanders after this 24-16 win. All right, Anthony Haney, who has his camera and lighting situation finally straightened out. We always start our Vibe Check Tuesday with your thoughts. Vibe check on the Commanders. How are we feeling?
We are the Commanders.
I'm feeling a little bit better about the team's defense. Again, a huge emphasis for me going into the game against the Falcons was, not playing so much man defense, and I don't think we played too much of it.
Definitely some, but I don't think as much as you saw against whoever they played the week before. Why can't I think of it?
The Bears.
The Bears, yeah. The Bears. Yeah. Bears.
Yeah, so I was happy to see that. Also, we utilized some different personnel, more linebackers, the single package. We just threw something different than what we were consistently doing the first 5 weeks, and that sort of kind of did include benching Emmanual Forbes, but it was just
sort
good.
of kind of included benching the first round pick. That was just a funny way to present that information.
It was just good to see something different. Only concern I would have about the team's defense is the amount of yards that we did give up, and that was sort of kind of in large part because the offense didn't really do much in the second half, and the defense was primarily on the field. But just giving up so many yards, limiting that, being able to finish some plays like Chase Young, he had a chance at a sack on a 3rd and 3. They end up extending the drive, taking up more clock and just gaining more yards. So that's the only thing I would say, just the amount of yards that we've given up.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to look this up, and I just did. They gave up actually only about 5 point something, like low 5. I think it was 5.08 when I looked it up this morning. I could probably pull out my phone, and I bet you the calculator still got that number on it. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Yeah, 5.08 yards per play. Because they gave up 79 plays, which is in large part, like you said, because the offense couldn't stay on the field in the second half. You had 4 and out, 5 and out, 6 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Like, it was bad offensively in the second half. And the funny thing is it didn't really change that much from the first half outside of some key third down conversions that they had. But you got set up by the punt return, and the first drive they converted a couple of 3rd and 9s. Like, it was actually a fairly consistent offensive performance. They just do a couple of things better in the first half, and it allows drives to continue and get to big plays in the second half. Not so much. So if you give up 5.1 yards per play, There's 4 teams currently giving that up per play, like in the league for the season. And it's the Jets, Colts, Bucks, and Raiders who are tied for basically 14th. So, like, they literally gave up an average amount of yards per play. The problem is that when you run or you give up 79 plays and you give up a couple of key third downs, then that number is going to look way worse by the end. But it's not necessarily going to help the Falcons get in the end zone. So it really was kind of the Jack Del Rio bend but don't break, which I think is interesting because I don't know that Jack's ever come out and been like, yeah, that's not our philosophy anymore. We want to thoroughly dominate every single snap. Like, they're built to bend but not break. And that's what they did. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. And I think against not just Desmond Ridder, but against Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, against, to a lesser extent, but still kind of Jalen Hurts, definitely against Mac Jones, like, that's how you should play it. Because they're not going to be good enough to make plays in high leverage situations, third down, red zone, to beat you. And so, yeah, you get a couple of third downs, fine, but like, okay, now heats up. We're going to blitz in the red zone, and you're going to throw a lollipop to Benjamin St-Juste. Sweet. Done. We can do that all day.
Nah, I mean, I agree. The only other thing that I would say that I have strong feelings about from the Commanders' performance against the Falcons is probably the team's efficiency on third downs, not the defense. I mean, the defense could be better as well, but offensively, yeah, 2 for 10, that's not going to get it done. We struggled pretty much all season, I feel as though, on third down. So being able to, improve that, I think, would do us some justice, moving forward in terms of, being able to sustain drives and things of that nature.
No, you're 100% correct. But I actually think that the third down, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to have more thoughts on this when we get back, and we'll start to actually take some calls at 301-230-0980 because I want to look up a stat. But I actually think the third down stuff is a symptom, not a cause. I'll explain what I mean. And we'll tell you what else is still to come here on this radio program.
Still to come on The Hoffman Show.
We got a Ben Standig sighting today. Yeah, Standig's going to join us at 5 o'clock for Not My Beat. Then Lynnell Willingham live in studio at 5:30. Overreaction Tuesday. Also later in the show, Zach Lowe, ESPN, has put out his annual League Pass rankings. Which teams are the most fun and least fun to watch? You're not going to believe where he has the Wizards. We'll do that at 6:30 right before the end of the show. But we're mostly Commanders on this Vibe Check Tuesday. Taking your calls next at 301-230-0980 on The Hoffman Show. Streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980, on the free Odyssey app, and of course, on your radio.
The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
I feel like I need to ask this, but like between that, trying to run a slant to Bijan on the critical play of the game, like how much of this is Atlanta like giving you some gifts that you take advantage of? Like they still won. It counts in the standings the same. But like to me, one of the players of the game for Washington is Arthur Smith, both play caller Arthur Smith and head coach Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I think the thing with Arthur Smith is like when you look at this offense, man, it is complex. They do a lot of stuff, a lot of different personnel, a lot of shifts, a lot of kind of trickerations, a lot of multiple cadence things, and that takes time. A lot of cans, like that offense is in for Desmond Ridder. Like there's no, it's not like dip your feet in the cold end or the the warm end of the pool and kind of walk your way in. Now that offense is 100% in, and I think everyone talks about maybe the simplicity, or something I've rested, the simplicity of this offense, EB's offense, and how there's not a lot on Sam Howell's plate. I think it's kind of the reverse there. I think everything's on the plate, and sometimes there's just too much to eat, too much to look at, and it really is hard for a young quarterback. I think you see that's one of the reasons you see the delay of game. They, on the interception, there's like they almost have another delay of game, like 2 plays in a row. Like that's bad.
One after a spike.
Yeah, that's bad process, and I think there's too much I would say if I was advising Arthur Smith, just after watching this game from a 1,000-foot view, I would say there's too much in. You got to trim it down a little bit. I know there's a lot of stuff you like, a lot of stuff you feel really good about, but let's trim it back a little bit for the young guy. Let's get him really confident and comfortable with what's going on.
Of the fumbles this year have happened Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson, when guys are going second, third efforts offensively.
I got a funny story about that. Want to hear a funny story?
When do I not want to hear a funny story?
So in 2013, I had like the weirdest. Someone told me this, and I don't even know if this is true, but someone came to me in our stats department and said, "Hey Logan, you have the most fumble recoveries from your own team of anybody in the division." I said, that's a weird statistic. But it wasn't like I was trying to go out and recover all these fumbles. Like, my mindset was just like, I'm not a good football player. Like, I'm well aware of that. Like, it was just play as hard as you can for as long as you can was really my philosophy. And so you're around the ball, you're blocking somebody, you're around the pile, I'm in the shot, and the ball pops down. It's like, oh, I'm just going to jump on that because it's right there. And so it can lead to good things, very productive things. And I think I had four fumble recoveries that year just being near the pile.
Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. It's a Vibe Check Tuesday, and we'll get to those vibes on the phones. How we're feeling about the Commanders at 301-230-0980 in just a second. Of course, that is the Ace Law listener line. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. But Anthony, I wanted to first just real quickly on the final point you made about third down offense for the Commanders. They currently rank in the bottom third of the league. In fact, the bottom 10 of the league. The Jets are the worst. Then the Browns, the Seahawks, the Bengals, the Titans, the Vikings, and the Commanders are right there at 34.3%. That's 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26th in the league, tied with Minnesota. I think their biggest problem is actually not third down, though. Although they haven't been great in third and short situations. I talked last week about how I think they have some short yardage issues. They did a good job on the 4th and 1 this week. But their first and second down efficiency has just not been very good. And I think part of the problem is you wind up in a lot of third and longs, and that's why you can't convert on third down, because third and long is hard. There's no good play for third and long, ever. And they do, even in this game, like the first drive, they have 3rd and 9, and then 3rd and 14. And they convert on 3rd and 9 twice. And then on 3rd and 14, they get like 12 yards on the little swirl route to Curtis Samuel, and they're able to kick a much easier field goal. But you're not converting that stuff. And so I think that for the Commanders, they need to find a better way to get yards consistently, short, easy yards on 1st and 2nd down, as opposed to it feels a bit like an all-or-nothing offense right now. And they're good enough to score 24 that way on a relatively consistent basis, like mid-20s. But they're averaging, I think, 22 on the year, and that's with the Bills game where everything went wrong and they scored 3. So, like, at the end of the day, you're looking at an offense that is doing a lot of good, big, important stuff and is able to take advantage of it, but is probably leaving some easier stuff on the table. And what's the balance of keeping the good, big stuff and finding the little things, the quick stick routes, the nod routes, the quick slants, those types of things on a more regular and consistent basis that will help free up the third down being a lot easier because it's a lot shorter. Or best way to convert third down is to never deal with it. Just get a first down on 1st and 2nd down. Move the ball down the field, score a touchdown, never see third down. That's the best way to do it. All right, we got a ton of calls, so let's go ahead and go to them. 301-230-0980. It's a Vibe Check Tuesday, and it gets started with Vaughn. Vaughn, how you feeling about the Commanders who are back at 500?
Okay, well, how I feel is this is my assessment. One of the things that concern me is the inconsistency of the defense and the non-running game that we have. And we just seem like no holes are being open. We can't get no running game on a consistent basis, so that concerns me a lot, especially going up in New York. And, you know, the identity of this team is what I see with Chicago, with Philly almost getting there, and then especially by the Giants being people saying was robbed against Buffalo, and then people saying San Francisco got robbed. I just have this feeling that, you know, the scenario is not very good going up into in these type games for us. You know how to say we always the get right team. And I feel like this is another one of them games here. If we don't keep the referees out the game, it's a loss.
I mean, I'm never going to put a game on a referee, but you never want it to be close enough. So I hear what you're saying in that way. I mean, in terms of the run game, they are definitely towards the bottom half of the league in terms of total yards per game. They're averaging only 87.8. But what's interesting is in the top half of the league in yards per carry, they are far and away an outlier. Here are the teams that are around them in terms of yards per carry, in terms of yards per game. So, for instance, the Dolphins are the best rushing team in football. This is a dumb stat. Anthony, can you see or have you looked this up recently, how far ahead the Dolphins are in terms of running the football?
Probably a lot.
The Dolphins are averaging, guess how many yards per game the Dolphins are averaging?
Total or just rushing yards?
Rushing.
They're probably averaging like 178.
You're actually low. 181 per game.
Dang, barely.
Yeah, 6.5 a carry, 181 per game. They've got 15 rushing touchdowns on the year. It's dumb what Mike McDaniel's doing down there. The Cardinals are actually second, which is wild because it's not like they've been winning a ton of games. But then it's the Jets, the Broncos, the Bears, the Titans, the Niners, the Eagles, the Eagles, the Browns, the Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Commanders. And again, this is yards per carry. The Commanders are the only team that I've mentioned so far that's below 106 yards per game total. The Rams are right behind them at 108, and it takes all the way down to Carolina, so you're in the bottom half of the league in yards per carry to get another team that's averaging less than 100 yards per game total. Now, so that tells you a couple things. Like, when they are running it, it has been somewhat effective, but they're just not running it a lot. But clearly it's not like they're middle of the pack. So it's not like they're actually killing it. I'm not trying to tell you that, but they've had a couple of big runs. They have the Chris Rodriguez 13-yarder. Gibson had a nice solid like 9-yard pop. And you start to get some of those ones later in the game that they've had in other games, but not even getting to those. Like, it's just been bad. And look, we got really nerdy into this on Take Command this morning when we talked about it. So I would highly suggest anyone who wants like a X's and O's nerd out on the run game to check out the podcast when it comes out tomorrow morning. But long story short, like running the football is not who they are. They are not a team that is looking to run it. And it's taken me a while to accept that. And really, I'm only accepting it now after like kind of watching the tape of this game and looking at how a team like Atlanta does it, or, you know, watching some more San Francisco, watching some more Miami. And you just realize, like, this team, we talked about it in the offseason, Ant, they didn't practice running the football. They didn't run a single team run all spring or for like the first week of camp. They don't scheme up their run game with the detail that they do their pass game. And you can still run the ball averagely that way, if averagely is a word, and it's how a lot of teams do it. But the best offenses in the sport, the Detroits, the San Franciscos, the Miamis, like they go one level up on the run game, and they stick with it. It's a part of who they are. And for EB, it's like, nah, I'd rather just scheme up a slant route. I'd rather just scheme up some of this other quick passing game. And I think the honest to God truth is, like, to your point about the third down stuff and to the caller's point about, like, the inconsistency in the run game, I don't know that they're actually doing anything wrong from, like, a skew standpoint. I just think they got to find ways to pass it more effectively in some of these short, quick stuff that still is a low mental load on Sam, because clearly they're not prepared to run the football more. Like, the proof is there.
I mean, it's funny because, EB and I guess how the offense has been run sort of contrast what Ron Rivera said, at the end of the season last year, where he was like, we want to run the ball. We have all these backs, and we want to utilize their skills and talents. And I just feel like EB has come in and he sort of kind of understood, but not fully understood it. And I think he just more so embraced, getting our receivers involved, which he should be doing because we have so much there, so much talent at the receiver position. But I don't know. He has to weave in that run game a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm scrambling over here. People watching on YouTube is like, why does every time Anthony talks, does Craig look off the screen? Because I got a computer with all sorts of information up here. I've got PFF's yards by rush in terms of direction. And, like, you go over outside left edge and run over Cornelius Lucas. And previously Charles Leno's numbers look similar. Like, you get 9 yards a pop. Inside, there is nothing, man.
Nothing.
You got the one, I guess, middle left. You had that the good Rodriguez carry and the good, I guess, middle left. You had the good Gibson pop, and that was the only attempt. And then they tried middle right a couple times, and they got the 13-yarder by Chris Rodriguez. But mostly, like, they can't run right, or didn't, at least on Sunday, which is weird because Wiley's been pretty good in the run game all year, and they couldn't really run, like, kind of that outside zone left area. So, like, unless you can get the edge or you're right up the gut, it's not good. And, like, that's changed every single week. So, like Vaughn said, the caller, there's inconsistency in the run game. And how do you create a better, more consistent version? I think, like, you can still do that while also playing perhaps to some of the other strengths that we talked about in the past game. 301-230-0980. Let's go one more call real quick before we take a break. So if you're on hold, we will get to you next. We're going to keep taking calls pretty much for the rest of the hour. So 301-230-0980. Our guy Lap has been hanging on. Lap, appreciate you, man. What you got on this Vibe Check Tuesday?
Hey, what's up, Craig? Man, I don't know what anybody is expecting. Like, we've been saying the same old, especially with this regime with Ron, man. Now, it seems like he's falling back. It seems like his time is up. So he seems like he's just letting Eric Bieniemy, run the show. I don't recall Eric Bieniemy's offense really running the football that much in Kansas City. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you can attest to that.
No,
I don't know, Craig.
They did not run it a lot. But they also had Patrick Mahomes.
So
like, that makes more sense than here.
Yeah. Of course. But I'm just saying, if his mindset is passing and he didn't do it much, of course he had Mahomes. No, it's no-brainer. But I'm just saying, if he didn't do it much there, I don't know why we're surprised here. You know what I'm saying? It looks like they want to go into pass-happy mode anyway. So that's the thing. I don't know what the fans really expect because, like I said, we've been saying our concerns, and Ron and this ownership, well, we got new ownership now, but I'm just saying this regime is not listening to us. So until something change, that's when we're going to see change. But we got to just keep, rocking with our team. It's sad, though, Craig, because we got so much talent on this team that's not being utilized the right way. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what's got to happen, but I want to make the playoffs. I don't give a damn if we don't go far, whatever. I want to make the playoffs, and I just want to see what happens, man. It's got to be some type of confidence boost or motivation for this team, and maybe something to change. I mean, we've been used to all of this mediocrity, for years anyway, so I don't see what the problem is waiting a little longer because we never got that mindset, Craig, when the season starts of any of the last few coaches we had here that we're trying to contend, and they know what the fans want. They know what the talks is. They know what the media outside of this media has been saying about us. And, they got to want it. You know what I'm saying? Just as bad as we want it. So we gonna see, man. But it's disheartening, man. I'm glad we at 500. Some of these NFC teams don't look that good to me, Craig. I mean, Dallas looked good like 2 years ago.
Right.
Philly looked way better last year. So
well, that's the thing. And we got to go because we got to we're up against the clock. But appreciate your calls as always. Like the thing is, like if they mess around and make the playoffs at 9-8, there's 100% a chance they could win opening weekend. Like most of these teams in the NFC are the same, and then there's the 49ers. There's probably one or two other teams that will emerge by the end of the year. But like they're converting a 2-point or trying to convert and then doing it, a 2-point conversion away from beating Philly. So, and that was at Philly. I know you can compete with them. Like, Anthony, who else am I missing? Who else is at the top of the NFC right now?
You got the Lions, and then
you think they can't go toe-to-toe with the Lions?
Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
Right, like the Lions. 49ers. The Lions are really good.
Yeah.
But I think this team could go toe-to-toe with them. I think they would get absolutely beaten up by the 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers. That's the only team.
But that's the only team that, like, legitimately scares you. So, like, I don't know. If you wind up on the other side of the bracket and Howell figures out how to stop taking sacks, like, I don't know. Could you? Maybe. Would I pick it? Of course not. But, like, that's the crazy thing about the NFC right now. All right, more vibe checks next. How are you feeling about the Commanders now? They're back at 500, 301-230-0980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
I tried to warn you, bro. It is a mess in downtown Nashville. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Not even
we moved hotels the next night. I still am waiting on my refund for that. But yeah, we moved hotels the second night.
Wow.
It was fun. You say they rely on them. We went to brunch with my buddy the next day, who is a Nashville native and has lived in Nashville long enough that he remembers when it was more than just the bachelorette capital of the world. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty much on the woo girl economy.
Yeah, that's precisely what's going on. The downtown businesses cater to that. If you try to get it shut down, you're probably the one getting thrown out. It is what it is right now. It's weird, but Nashville, baby. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I will add one more small part to this story, and this is the part, frankly, that I've been waiting to tell you all week as well. That was kind of part one. We got quality Yates reaction. Part two, as we leave the hotel the next morning to go to breakfast. Remember, the wall's very thin. So it's not going where you think it's going. But as we walk down the hallway, my dear sweet wife just starts saying in a slightly elevated volume of voice, you know, it's been proven that the later groups stay out and make noise and all this stuff at their bachelorette weekend, the higher the divorce rate in the wedding.
So
and also the better chances
basically.
And also the better chances.
Wow. Okay. Okie dokie. So Rachel was pissed, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of tolerance for the woo girls. They say on the internet, like, feel free to post stuff, you know, like your friends' photos, do whatever. But like whatever you do for your own well-being, don't read the comments. Comment section, bad idea. What do we do?
We read those comments, baby.
That is exactly what we do. That was a little bit better. I still feel like that one was a little muted. I think sometimes it feels like you build yourself up a little too much, and then sometimes you don't quite go for it.
Because I ain't want to go screaming all the way. The thing is, though, my mic is a little lower than yours, so maybe I could have actually.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app on this Vibe Check Tuesday. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. That is where you call in. You tell us what you think about the Commanders sitting at 3-3 after their win against the Atlanta Falcons. Check the pulse of the fan base every Tuesday. What you got. On the Ace Law listener line at 301-230-0980. Let's keep going with Mark and Laurel. Mark, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
You know, it seems like a broken record. The defense has been pathetic the last 2 years. The only time the defense appears to dominate, last year the Commanders had the easiest schedule in football, and they dominated against below-average teams and below teams that have pathetic quarterbacks. Anytime they play a team with a good quarterback, the defense throws up all over themselves, and the trends continue this year. They dominated a team with pathetic quarterback play, pathetic team. Again, they look good the next couple of years. Then we'll be saying, what happened to the defense again when they play a team with a better quarterback? It's just
so let me hold on, Mark. Hold on. Let me just clarify something real quick. You're saying that teams with good quarterbacks are harder to play against than teams with bad quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying. The team dominates. The defense dominates whenever they play a team, a below-average team with a terrible quarterback. The defense dominates. But when they play a team with a good quarterback, the team always struggles. It's historically. Last year, they had a top-rated defense because they played the worst schedule in football. The easiest schedule in football.
What?
Wouldn't you agree with me?
I mean, yeah, but do you realize what you're saying?
I mean, if you think about it, last year, they played the Indianapolis Colts quarterback. Guy never played an NFL game before. The defense dominated like it's supposed to. Tannehill. I mean, last year, the quarterback play was so pathetic.
What's the Chiefs' record this year? What's the Chiefs' record? What's the Chiefs' record this year?
The Chiefs. I think they only lost one game.
Yeah. You know why?
Defense dominating.
Their defense is good, but they also have an elite quarterback who makes the plays that needs to be made. Like every year, the Chiefs, the Bills, like these are the teams that finish 12-4 or 13 or whatever it is now, 12-5, 13-4. Like, yeah, playing elite quarterbacks is hard. All you've said is like
average quarterback, not elite quarterback, but just an average quarterback. Just no elite quarterback. Just like the Cleveland game, any average quarterback, no elite quarterback. Just the guy like Jacksonville quarterback ate them up. I mean, all the teams they play with average quarterback play, the defense struggle.
Trevor Lawrence is pretty elite. Thanks for calling, Mark. Like, I hear you. I hear the frustration. I hear the point that you're making about like the genuine fluctuation, and I will absolutely I'm doing a half a bit here because it is kind of extreme how easy it is to predict how the Commanders' defense will play depending on who the opposing quarterback is, with the exception of like a Justin Fields, who should have been someone that they crushed and instead hung 40 burger on them. Realistically, like, yeah, Josh Allen kills everybody. You know, Mahomes, like Brady's beating them back when he was playing. Like, yeah, they lose to the same guys that everyone else loses against because it's really hard to play against. They also have taken advantage of very specific kinds of younger quarterbacks who are not experienced enough to be able to take advantage of some of the stuff that these veterans do. And in many ways, it's like, how experienced are you in your system, even more than like how good are you? To guys that are super comfortable have done well because they can see through some of the disguises and whatever, and you know, others haven't. At the end of the day, though, like this defense does need to be more consistent. But after going back and watching the tape, like they're pretty good on Sunday. Like they gave up 5 yards of play. Yes, it'd be really nice if like Benjamin St. Juste could not have plays made on his head. Jamin loses Kyle Pitts once in man-to-man coverage. That happens. But like what you saw on Sunday that was cool is guys that got beat came back later and made plays. Like the other guys get paid too. And when it's crunch time, I almost said something else that I don't think I'm allowed to say on the radio. When it's crunch time, we're going to go with crunch time. Commanders made plays. And that's how you win football games in this league. It's how, Kansas City, yeah, their defense has been good. But you know what Mahomes does? When you need it, he makes the play. That's how you win games. 301-230-0980, the Ace Law listener line. Let's go to Steve. Steve, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
How you doing, guys? How you doing, Mr. Hoffman? My thing is there's eyeballs from everybody on two players on the Commanders right now, Sam Howell and Chase Young. My thing is, we're developing Sam Howell. I understand that. Chase Young is getting a huge pass. If you look at his body of work rate recently, it's all bull rush. And 9 times out of 10, he's not in a position to make a play. It's almost as if he's afraid to. I don't know if he's got a swim move, a spin move, something in his repertoire other than a bull rush. It's almost as he's playing as almost if he's afraid not to let his legs be under him. Maybe he's afraid of that ACL tear again. I don't know what it is, but he's so ineffective. They say he's getting hurries and so on and so forth, but it's just it makes contact with the offensive lineman in front of him, and that's it. No chase, no nothing. What do you think about that?
I think that you are overstating how Chase Young is playing in the negative direction. I'm trying to find a stat.
Please ISO him on Sunday.
Bro,
please
pretend you're pretending like I don't
Chase.
watch him. Like, come on. Like, how long you been listening to this show? How long you been watching me work? Are you new?
I've been watching everything for the last 40 years.
No. Not how much you've been watching, how much I've been watching. Like, are you familiar with my resume?
I mean, you're getting paid to do this. I understand that, so I'm not going to diminish your skill set and your analysis. I wouldn't do that at all. It's just something that I'm looking at as a novice, and it just doesn't seem like
here's what I'm going to tell you, Steve.
more.
Like, you have a point in
Go ahead.
terms of his production. And this is something that I think is
Okay.
pretty interesting because you can't have a game, to me, with Chase Young where he's got 1 tackle on Sunday. That is not – for a guy that played 90% of the snaps and has his skill, that doesn't add up for me. But I was trying to find the stat real quick while you were talking, and I can't find it real quick. Keim had it on his podcast, so I will shout out John Keim and his podcast for it if you want to get the actual stat. But I think it's the last 4 weeks is the range. He has more pass rush wins than anybody in the entire NFL.
But he's not getting to the quarterback, and he's not effective.
That's because
against
this
the run.
past weekend, Desmond Ridder got rid of the ball faster than almost anyone else. There is a win that Chase had that he is on Ridder in 2.3 seconds, and the ball is out. Like, that's not Chase's fault. That's a good job by Ridder, although at times Ridder gets the ball out quickly, and it's a bad job by Ridder because he's throwing the ball to nowhere or to, Benjamin St. Just. So, like, we got to expand.
Sweat got to him. Payne got to him. Payne got to him. Allen got to him, and Sweat got to him.
Maybe
I'm
the
just
left
saying.
tackle is better at yelling out, "Look out!" than the other guys. Like, I don't know, man. But, like, at the end of the day, all Chase can do is his job. And I'm going to let you go, Steve. I appreciate the call. We're just up against the clock. But, like, Chase at times is doing things I don't love. And the coaches don't love. Like, some of the do your job stuff was definitely pointed at Chase Young. But it's gotten better week after week. He has played with more discipline. He is continuing to win as he plays with more discipline at extremely high rates. He is still a young player because he's missed almost 2 full seasons due to injury. And I do think as he gets back, and remember, he missed a bunch of time in camp after he got hurt. And so, we talked about John Allen not looking like John Allen. Chase is the same thing as he gets, and he doesn't have the years of NFL football under his belt that John does. So I think what you'll see is the next step for Chase is finishing these plays. And is it going to be every single week? No. But, like, don't be surprised if, like, he starts to tick up in terms of production because the process is really good and the results will come. And then, like, the last 4 games of the season, if he can stay healthy and just keep growing and growing, he's, like, thoroughly dominant for 4 games. I will not be surprised at all, because if I can look real quickly at pass rush productivity on PFF, let's see, pressures. That's the wrong side. Pressures from the right side. There is one player in the entire NFL who has more pressures from the right side than Chase Young. And it's Josh Sweat in Philadelphia. Chase missed the game. Okay? Like, Chase has 4 sacks. You got Trey Hendrickson with 8, Granderson 5, and then the next group of players who line up where Chase lines up. I know it's kind of a wacky bit, but they do it. Oh, actually, here, no, I can do sacks. Let's see, total. You got Danielle Hunter, Khalil Mack, TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson with 8. You got a 7. Sweat tied with 6. But then you got the group of guys who got 4 sacks tied for. There's only 16 guys in the whole league who have more sacks than Chase Young. He missed a game. When you look at hurries, like Chase Young is tied for 4th in the NFL. When you talk about, where is it? Is this pressures? Pressures. Hayden Hutchinson is a monster. He has so many. But like Chase Young is top 20 in the league, and he missed a game, and every single guy above him has not. Like, Chase Young is putting pressure on quarterbacks at an absurdly consistent rate. He's got to finish. It's got to happen where he is causing more negative plays. But it's one of those things that if those underlying, like that's a check under the hood numbers-wise, check passes, the results are going to come. 230-0980, 301-230-0980 is the number. We'll get more calls in next on The Hoffman Show.
I feel good.
Ben Standig at the top of the hour. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Back to the phones on this Vibe Check Tuesday, 301-230-0980, the Ace Law listener line. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888-ACE Law. Let's go to Glenn. Glenn, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? So I was thinking about our season so far, and everybody's crying about Chase Young. Well, he's played, and, this same time last year, we had only won 2 games. But we're up 1 game. I mean, of course, I would like to see 5 games, but, I'll take what they're giving us right now, and I did see some improvement in this past weekend, and, I hope we keep improving,
Yeah, man. Thanks for the call. I think that's like a realistic position to be in from a Vibe Check Tuesday standpoint. It's like, yeah, could it be better? Of course, but they're a young team. Like if you want to be an optimist, you look at this team and say, right now they're 500. There's a great chance they split the next 2 against the Giants and Eagles. Watch, they'll probably lose to the Giants and beat the Eagles because that's what this team does. But let's say they're 4-4 after the first 8. They've typically gone on a winning streak somewhere and then finished poorly. What if they actually grow throughout the year and finish strong? Like, wouldn't that be cool? You could be looking at a double-digit win season for the first time in a long time. Like, that would be awesome. Would love to see it. Let's keep going on a Vibe Check Tuesday. Let's go to Cliff. Cliff, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, what's going on, Greg?
What's up, Cliff?
I'm always talking about Washington always struggle against the elite quarterbacks. Yeah, they struggle, but on occasion they may beat an elite quarterback. Did that guy forget that they beat Jalen Hurts last season and Justin Fields? Unfortunately, they lost to him so far this season, but they still got the Eagles again in 2 weeks. And Chase Young would have had his 5th sack on Sunday, but his momentum allowed Desmond Ridder to escape because he slipped off of him just when he had him. And Sam Howell just have to get like y'all saying that the team how come they don't run. The thing is, if they were focused on running the ball, and like you said, they didn't run none at all during camp or nothing like that, but if they would run the ball first, that would set up the pass because teams had to start bringing the 8th man up in the box, and I sit back and listen.
All right, Cliff. I mean, that is the kind of the classic football philosophy is like run to set up the pass. This team passes to set up the run. That's like we're gonna make you sit back, and then we'll take advantage of some soft boxes, and then you'll finally bring that other player down. Like they would much rather do it the way they did it in some of the games earlier this year, where they had big offensive output, where they pass, and then they have these big runs late in games, and then everyone afterwards is like, "Oh my God, why didn't you run more?" And EB's probably looking back at those games and like, that's why. I maybe know what I'm doing. It's different philosophically from the way I look at it. I am run to set up the pass type of person. That's, when I was covering the league, like that's kind of how it was. We're still infiltrating from some of the Shanahan philosophy that was there with Sean McVay, and like even to an extent, like Jay was like that. Which is funny because sometimes Jay would forget to run the ball. Period. And you're like, hey man, like just call a run play every once in a while. But like I think philosophically that like West Coast traditionally in the Gruden tree was kind of like that. The Shanahan tree certainly set up that way. That's not really how Andy Reid does it. In his tree of coaches, like it's inverted and it works. Obviously, Andy Reid very successful, but it's going to take some getting used to. Let's try to get in these last 2 calls real quick. Let's go to Eric in Sterling. Eric, thanks for holding. Thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yes, I just want to echo a lot of what has already been said, but you even mentioned it. This is a young team, and, obviously we want to see them win as many games as they can. I've been following the Redskins since the 70s as a kid, and the one thing I'm going to tell you is I see a lot of promise in this team. I see a team that once they get it going on all cylinders, on all 3 aspects, special teams, defense, and offense, I think we're going to have a mighty explosive team in the near future. And as far as Sam Howell, man, he's doing a very good job, all things considered. And last thing I want to say, in the off season coming up, let's think very hard about getting Patrick Paul, offensive lineman Patrick Paul, so he can play with his brother Chris, and also keep an eye on Alu Fantanu out of freaking Penn State. That guy is unbelievable. He's like a freaking beast on the offensive line. Go Redskins! I'm behind you all the way.
All right, I got to hit you.
We are the Commanders.
I know you've been watching since the 70s, and I'll let you get away with it once referring to the team back, but now they got a different name, and that's just how we roll on this show. Also, like, sure, we'll start when we start our draft prep. We'll pull that call back up and see if those guys matter. Charles, wrap up here for us here on the Hoffman Show.
I get really frustrated with some of our fans. The whole bashing Chase Young, first, you all wanted them to be disciplined and stay in his lane. Now that he is being disciplined, staying in his lane, it's, well, all he does is bull rush. But he's in the spot that he's supposed to be in, and it makes the quarterback, it closes down the gap, so the quarterback doesn't have that lane to run in.
Correct.
What do you want from him?
People want him to get 7 sacks a game because they don't actually know what they want from him.
Oh, my goodness. Just read a book, Football 101.
Or listen to the Take Command podcast, Charles. That's what I would do, you know.
Yeah.
I think
that's why I listen to you all the time.
I appreciate it, Charles. Thank you. I didn't know when we clicked Charles on that he was going to just really butter me up like that, but I'll take it. That Logan Paulson fellow that I work with is pretty smart. But yeah, no, like Chase, that's exactly correct. Chase is being more disciplined. There are things I would like to see more of him doing. And part of that, though, is getting him off the field. Like, Chase can't be as explosive and as dominant and finish the way that you want him to finish if he's playing 65 snaps or whatever the hell he played. Like, that's insane for a defensive lineman. And I know he's super fit and he's in better shape than most football players can ever dream of. And he's such a freakish athlete, but help your guy out. Get him off the field some. So I think that's part of it as well, and hopefully they can continue to find that balance. I think my vibe check to wrap up the hour is I am encouraged by some important things going into next week. I think this team has identified some of the problems and is continuing to work on fixing them, and they are a young team. And are they ever going to be like one of the best in football this year or next year? Probably not. They're not talented enough. And I think the sooner people get that idea out of their heads, like, that's probably healthier for your psyche. But do they have the potential to be competitive week in and week out? Will they win some of those games? Will they lose some of those games? Yes. But they've got a chance to be competitive week in and week out with the talent they have. It's just a matter of continuing to refine the details, learn from mistakes, and not keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. That'll wrap up our Vibe Check Tuesday caller extravaganza that we do 4 o'clock hour each and every Tuesday. Next hour, we have a couple of great guests. Ben Standig joins us next. Then Lynnell Willingham in studio for Overreaction Thursday at 5:30. It's the Hoffman Show, streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980, on the Odyssey app, and, of course, on your radio, 980 AM and 106.7 HD2. I feel like I need to ask this, but, like, between that, trying to run a slant to Bijan on the critical play of the game, like, how much of this is Atlanta, like, giving you some gifts that you take advantage of? Like, they still won. It counts in the standings the same. But, like, to me, one of the players of the game for Washington is Arthur Smith, both play caller Arthur Smith and head coach Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I think the thing with Arthur Smith is, like, when you look at this offense, man, it is complex. They do a lot of stuff, a lot of different personnel, a lot of motions and shifts, a lot of kind of trickerations, a lot of multiple cadence things, and that takes time, a lot of cans. Like, that offense is in for Desmond Ridder. Like, it's not like, dip your feet in the cold end or the warm end of the pool and kind of walk your way in. Now, that offense is 100% in, and I think, everyone talks about, maybe the simplicity, or something I've rested, the simplicity of this offense, EB's offense, and how there's not a lot on Sam Howell's plate. I think it's kind of the reverse there. I think everything's on the plate, and sometimes there's just too much to eat, too much to look at, and it really is hard for a young quarterback. I think you see that's one of the reasons you see the delay of game. They, on the interception, there's they almost have another delay of game, 2 plays in a row. That's
They
bad.
have one after a spike.
Yeah, that's bad process, and I think there's too much. I would say if I was advising Arthur Smith, just after watching this game from the 1,000-foot view, I would say there's too much in. You got to trim it down a little bit. I know there's a lot of stuff you like, a lot of stuff you feel really good about, but let's trim it back a little bit for the young guy. Let's get him really confident and comfortable with what's going on.
The fumbles this year have happened. Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson, when guys are going second, third efforts offensively.
I got a funny story about that. Want to hear a funny story?
When do I not want to hear a funny story?
So in 2013, I had the weirdest. Someone told me this, and I don't even know if this is true, but someone came to me in our stats department and said, "Hey, Logan, you have the most fumble recoveries from your own team of anybody in the division." I said, "That's a weird statistic," but it wasn't like I was trying to go out and recover all these fumbles. My mindset was just I'm not a good football player. I'm well aware of that. It was just play as hard as you can for as long as you can was really my philosophy. And so you're around the ball, you're blocking somebody, you're around the pile, I'm in the shot, and the ball pops down. It's I'm just going to jump on that because it's right there. And so it can lead to good things, very productive things. And I think I had four fumble recoveries that year, just being near the pile.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, 5 o'clock on this show means it is time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Today's guest, the voice of the man you heard in the hour opener, it is Ben Standig of The Athletic. Ben, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm good. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. Nice to see this team get back to 500. Obviously, a very anxious week with the Giants on deck, that's a house of horrors up there in New York. We'll see if Daniel Jones plays. But when you look back over this Falcons game and kind of have a day to get separation from it, digest it, go back, read some notes, watch some tape, whatever it is that you've done to review it, how did you try to make sense of a game where they were thoroughly dominated, they being the Commanders, on the stat sheet, but ultimately, were never really felt like they weren't going to win it when you watched it live?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the turnovers. Atlanta's 3 turnovers, were huge. I mean, that's why they had all the stats, but fewer points. Just, especially in the second half, they were giving the ball away. I guess on some level, it is just sort of the NFL. Other than like a couple, I mean, literally maybe a couple of teams at the top and then at the bottom, everybody else is just somewhere in the middle. And when you have those kind of results, the dice are going to come up every different time you roll them. And this one was fortunate where they were the ones who made enough plays and got the breaks to pull it out. But, the defense played better. Obviously, the offense was largely okay, except for the sacks, and they kind of went silent after their last touchdown. So, yeah, I mean, they were probably owed some breaks after what happened in the Bears game and the Eagles game, and they got them.
I was going to say, though, do you feel like this is stuff that the defense did? Like they used some different fronts, they used some pressures, they threw some different looks in Atlanta. Like, do you feel like the defense was the impetus for this, or did they just face an overloaded, overmatched Desmond Ridder who was being asked to do way too much by Arthur Smith and squandered opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot's made of the 5-man defensive line, and there's something to that, but they only played 3 snaps more with that 5-man front than they did in the Bears game. It's just the Bears were hitting those passes deep down the field, and Atlanta was unable to kind of make those big plays. They were having to grind it out more, which is really, sort of the whole point of why teams play at times a bit more conservative, trying to keep plays at the front of them on defense, force the other team to drive, take many plays, and then hopefully the more plays equals some mistake. And in this case, Atlanta kept making them. But also the numbers were just a lot better. The 5-man front combined with the linebackers, just made a lot more plays. It kind of kept Atlanta bottled up. So combination of probably execution as much as anything else really kind of, won this game for the defense in terms of their ability to make plays and force those turnovers.
Ben Standig of The Athletic with us here on the Hoffman Show, of course, their Commanders beat reporter. One last defensive question that I know you've been working on some stuff on the offense, tweeting about Jahan Dotson's role, and you wrote about Sam Howell and the sack problem. But what do you think that Ron Rivera does and Jack Del Rio moving forward with Emmanuel Forbes after he doesn't play at all defensively against Atlanta?
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, this is it's the short-term situation versus where you are long-term. Obviously, first-round pick, he's going to have to learn how to improve and play better. For a guy, you spent that kind of draft capital on. On the other hand, this 3-game stretch, this is game 3 of the 3-game stretch I'm referring to, is, probably the most winnable part of their schedule that they have right now. I mean, obviously injuries will happen and things will change, but, some of their tougher games are coming up. If they beat the Giants, they're 4-3 going into the Eagles rematch versus you lose this game, and now all of a sudden you're 3-4 going into that Eagles game. I think I wouldn't be stunned if they kind of leave things the way they were last week. Again, they, Atlanta was able to do some things on offense for sure, but largely the big plays down the field were not there the way they were against Chicago. And also, this is a third team in a row where the run, you have to figure it's going to be a prominent, if not the lead part of that team's offense, knowing that Saquon Barkley is back. And, Emmanuel Forbes, based on his size, but also based on what we've seen from him, has not been the best tackler at all out there. So I could see a scenario where this is another week where he doesn't play, but hopefully he gets out there soon enough, both for his sake and for theirs as well.
Ben Standig of The Athletic with us. So let's talk about what you wrote first. And then I know you were looking a little bit at Jahan Dotson. But the headline is Sam Howell and the Commanders' sack problem is far from fixed and might be getting worse. Why do you draw that conclusion that you think it might be getting worse?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably admittedly a little bit of a hyperbolic headline. But in terms
Ben,
of...
I thought you were a stand-up journalist. I am appalled that you would... Okay, do the thing that all of us do. It's like, might be. I said might be.
Right. Well, no, not to mention, we don't create the headline.
Yeah, you just write the story. I hear you. Why is that? Why is that on the table for you?
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about Sam Howell holding onto the ball for too long, and based on that, this was a game where, by the numbers, he was doing just that. Going into this game, he of the 29 sacks, 5 of them he had time to throw up at least 4.2 seconds or more. In this game, it was 3 times where he had at least 4.2 seconds or more to get rid of the ball, and it really did feel like this was more on him than it was the offensive line or some other factors. Again, with every given play, it's a different story. But I'm saying in general, based on how the sacks broke down at the time, it did feel like it was more on him. So that's why the notion of, getting worse. But in this game, and the other thing is the time that he had overall was more in line with the first 2 games of the year, Arizona and Denver, than the Eagles and the Bears game, where he seemed to be, based on the numbers, was making strides towards getting rid of the ball quicker. And just to be clear, it's not a sin to hold the ball in the pocket. And Patrick Mahomes obviously is one of those guys that does. It's that, what do you do with it when you have to make a call? Are you running out of the pocket to make a play the way Mahomes can do? I mean, not that Howell can't do it, but he's just been sitting in the pocket more than not. So it's more about that, the timing of the time he had to throw and the inability to make plays to get rid of the ball was huge. And each drive he got sacked on led to no points. They pretty much punted soon after. So it is a problem that they've got to resolve. Even though he's been pretty good overall, I would say for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a bizarre season to try to make sense of because he's been so good except for this one potentially very fatal flaw. And it seems like, to your point of getting out of the pocket and making plays, it seems like he can't find where the exits are. It's like he's very I don't want Sam on my team in an escape room, because he doesn't seem to be able to get out of the
Right.
pocket. And then the other thing that I would ask, and this is a question where Eric would give you a 2-minute answer on Thursday and not actually say anything, which is becoming the Bieniemy special. But at what point do you stop going, hey, there are receivers open, and go, we need to call something else because clearly he doesn't see the open receivers or doesn't have confidence to make those throws with anticipation down the field, and try something different from a game plan standpoint, even if a different quarterback could execute the current thing well because it's theoretically working, if you catch what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I did think in the beginning of this game that Howell was getting rid of the ball a bit quicker, being a little more decisive, and I thought perhaps the play calling had something to do with that. It was a lot of, get the snap, turn, and fire, and that seemed to be, effective enough and a better way to go. But yeah, I mean, obviously as the game progressed, it didn't keep up. Yeah, I mean, we know he can run. You can roll him out more, or call more RPOs, whatever you need to do. But ultimately, I always view it as, even if we're talking about just quarterbacks that like to run but aren't necessarily taking a lot of sacks the way Hal is, at some point you have to make the 3rd and 8th throw from the pocket, right? I mean, that's ultimately in this league what you have to be able to do, and that's going to mean he's going to at some point have to address, how do I get rid of the ball in an effective way without taking that hit, and that's something he'll have to work on, kind of no matter what Bieniemy is calling out there.
All right, last thing for Ben Standig on the way out here. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. Ben, of course, the Commanders beat reporter for The Athletic. You were tweeting a little bit about Jahan Dotson, what Ron Rivera said. We actually did our Take 5 episode, our quick edition of Take Command today, on where we think some of the issues are with Dotson. But what's your theory of the case as to why the former first-round pick has been fairly quiet this season?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because he played 12 games last year, 6 this year, so obviously it's half of what he did last year. And based on that, the receptions and targets actually kind of line up with exactly on pace for where he was a year ago. It's that the yards and the touchdowns are not close to where they were. Touchdowns to a degree can be a regression kind of a stat, especially when he had 7 on only 35 catches last year. But obviously he's just not getting the ball enough, perhaps in general, based on our expectations, and then simultaneously not having the opportunity, perhaps, to make those yak plays. I do think part of it is, Logan Thomas is getting more targets this year at tight end than was happening a year ago. The running backs seem to be more involved. Curtis Samuel has obviously been pretty effective for the most part, and this was a game where Terry McLaurin got a lot of targets, this season high 11. So you can't get everybody the ball at all times, and that was the point Rivera was trying to make. But it does. Remember looking at some numbers earlier in the year that Dotson's ability to separate, or his separation numbers from defensive backs when the throws coming his way was not that great. So whether it's the way Bieniemy is calling the plays or Dotson himself, something definitely feels off with creating space for him. I'm not sure exactly about it for this game. I still need to go back and catch up on some of the tape, but I think those are some of the factors that are kind of hurting him right now. I'm curious what you guys thought.
Yeah, I mean, the short version is listen to the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. The short version is I think that there is a lack of urgency in some of his routes that's throwing off some of the timing. And it's stuff that may not have been as important in the previous offense, or he just hasn't kind of realized, like, hey, man, this isn't the Big Ten. This is the NFL. Things happen right now. And so I think that when you look at it from, like, the execution standpoint, yeah, he's great at routing somebody up, but do you understand that you don't have time to do the skip, jump, release, and then triple stick someone at the top of a route, because by then your quarterback's sacked. And I think that timing element and the urgency in some of these routes, I think, is our best hypothesis of the case. On top of what you said of, like, there's a lot of other people to get the ball to, and specifically against Atlanta, they ran 50 plays. Like, what are you going to do? You can't get the ball to everyone, so they got to be more efficient. And that's kind of our theory of it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I would also just say from a bigger picture perspective, when you to me, I know wide receiver is incredibly important in this league, but I still feel like there's so much receiver talent that comes in the league every year that you shouldn't have to invest what they have invested in their top 3. They inherited McLaurin as a pick, but they paid him as one of the highest paid guys in the league. They gave Curtis Samuel a pretty good contract to the point that he has the second highest cap hit on the team this year. And then you spent a first-round pick on Dotson. It's such a dependent position, right, that, yeah, and you can't get everybody 5-6 touches or targets a game, that it is, to me, why I wouldn't spend that much in resources on that spot overall, because you have situations like this where, I'm not saying it's wasted money, but like your first-round pick from last year is not getting the ball, yet it's not like, McLaurin's getting the ball, Samuel's getting the ball. You don't need to invest this much, both because there's ways to get help, but also for stuff like this. Offensive linemen are involved in every single play, receivers are not, et cetera.
No, it's a good point, and it can be applied to other positions where they've done the same exact thing. But that's when we do that show, Ben, we're going to be here a while. We're trying to be respectful of your time. You're on with Sheehan later in the week, yes?
Yeah, I'll be back with him Friday before heading up to New York. So, looking forward to that as well.
What's your New York travel bit? Like, I was always a train guy when I was on the beat. Are you taking the train up? Are you driving? You flying? How's Ben Standig getting to New Jersey?
I have often driven, depending on, like, if I had other agenda or things to do while I was up there, including going into the city. But I'm going to stay in Jersey, so I'm going to take the train this time and go with the Amtrak way.
Yeah, well, best of luck with the Amtrak gods, and we'll hopefully talk to you back here on the show soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Ben Standig, everybody, with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, I want to dive a little deeper into the Jahan Dotson thing. That's next here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We got Lynnell Willingham stopping by in just a few minutes. He'll stay for a while. We'll do Overreaction Tuesday, where Lynell just unloads hot takes, and I'm like, hey man, that's a hot take. Or honestly, for a lot of the year, Anthony, he's been kind of tame on this show, which is wild. Because then he comes in here on Wednesdays with a rooster and
maybe you just gotta, poke him like early.
Gotta rile him up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
What are some things I could rile Lynell up with? What are the things that get under his skin?
Chase Young.
What about Chase Young though? Does he think he's underperforming, or does he think people are picking on him?
I think he thinks people are picking on Chase.
Yeah, but I think that's the correct take.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to make anything up. Although,
if I
was going to do it purely for the sake of entertainment and everyone was in on the joke, I would do that. But he knows too much about what I think about the subject.
Oh.
And to be clear, I
maybe
would then
forwards.
verify that I would eventually let everyone know that it was a joke. I will never, you have my word, I will never do a take for the sake of entertainment. I think that is the dumbest thing on earth. What we're talking about is not that serious.
I agree.
You need to make stuff up.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna get him riled up.
I've taught him too well. He knows that this show is a show of intelligence and rationale.
Yeah.
Or something. The Jahan Dotson thing, real quick. Like, I think that Jahan is a really skilled football player who is still young. And I think Ben's point overall is really good, right? Like, I think that it's just hard to get this many playmakers the ball. And if that's the case, then why did you draft this receiver in the first round? Why did you draft, so many defensive linemen? Why did you draft a corner when you got starting corner? It goes to the way this roster is built in a not very efficient way. But specific to Jahan now and the issues that he's having, I think a lot of it, you watch some of these plays and he will give a big, should I just do this? I'm do I have enough room to implement, to impersonate a Jahan Dotson release? But it's coming off the line, and Logan talked about Pierre Garçon, right, back in the day. Pierre, set hut, boom! He's out, gone. I got to dig. I got to get 12 yards, and I got to in-cut. How fast can I run 10 yards from the time I see the ball is snapped to throw my foot in the ground, make that cut, and get in to where I need to be? And that's the NFL. It's it happens now. And, of course, who did Pierre play with at the beginning of his career? Peyton Manning, who's Mr. Detail. If you don't run the route right, you're not even going to get on the field. Nevertheless, you get the ball. So you have a guy like Jahan who is capable of shaking guys, and he's super fast. He runs a 4.3, and it's I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to set hut, and now he's running. But then he gets to the top of the route, and it's and double stick. And it's no, man, I need you to get gone and then get inside or hit that comeback and slam on the brakes. There's no time for finesse in the NFL. Plays happen too fast. And I think when I watch Jahan run routes, sometimes / a lot of the time, it's that lack of urgency, which is not him not caring and being lazy and lackadaisical. It's just I don't think he fully understands as a young player that, hey man, yeah, you're open, but it doesn't matter. It's well, if the line could have just held up a little bit longer. No, you needed to be open sooner. And that's the league as wide receiver. And that's why a guy like Terry, super fast, super physical, set hut, boom, heavy hands, smash a DB out of the way, present hands, make catch. That's why it works for Terry.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because there's a guy in Denver, Jerry Jeudy, who's, he gets praised for his route running. He does a lot of, shake and bake. He's very precise. And I feel as though, the longer he's been in the league, he's struggled, getting open because of everything you just laid out, where he gets to the top of his route and he still wants to, shake and bake. Granted, you can do that, but, the time in the pocket for an NFL quarterback isn't that long. You got 2.5 seconds on average, and the ball's got to be out.
It's not even just that, right? You need to be open in the timing of the route, because it's one thing for the quarterback to have the time and stand there, but the way players drop in zone coverage, there are windows that open and then close. And if you don't hit the window when it's open, there's a play, this one's on Sam, not on Jahan, but there's a play on Sunday that one of the third downs where Sam takes a sack. And the second Jahan comes out of his break on this dig route, which he actually runs well, if Sam is letting the ball go, Jahan catches it with 5 yards of space on either side of him to potentially catch and run. And you're sweet. No ball. No anticipation. But the second, as you watch it unfold, Jahan comes out of the route, Sam's staring at it, he's not throwing it, and you just watch the outside player collapse in and the safety start to come down and read that route, and that hole is gone, right? You have to throw with anticipation. The receiver's got to emerge in the hole in zone coverage when he's supposed to, and the ball's got to arrive with that anticipation. Otherwise, everything's going to be dead. And so that's where I think Jahan can take that next step. It's also happening in conjunction with Sam needing to take that next step. So those two things, those two young players working together to kind of understand the rhythm and timing of the NFL, I think ultimately puts the Commanders in a funky spot with both of their production. All right, it's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, Lynnell Willingham pops in studio, and we will have our Overreaction Tuesday here on the Team 980. They get real Icarus-y, to go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, though. We didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call
It's okay.
at Prep
I'm
to
ask
confirm
my
this?
kids I mean, I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority. Do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, yeah, we've done it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Arina Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian.
Арина Соболенко! Ваму! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh,
you change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of arrival. And they lost, no survivor. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980, where if you're watching, you can see Lynnell Willingham has joined us in studio. Yeah, perk up.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I forgot I'm on camera for the big time Hoffman show. What's going on, man?
Yeah, that's right.
Live in studio version of Overreaction Tuesday.
Yeah, normally we do this when Lynnell's sitting at home on his couch, which is very comfortable, and the takes have been, I don't want to say like lukewarm, like your takes are always fire.
You've been poking me a little bit the last few weeks about the level of spiciness of my takes.
You've been reasonable.
Yeah.
And like, I'm proud of you for it. It absolutely goes against everything that we developed the segment around.
Yes.
But I, as someone who would like to see you have great longevity in this business and learn things about the game and continue to take the research and passion that you have and have that come into logical and smart conclusions.
Yes.
I am proud of you.
Well,
Why do I
thank
feel like today we're going to go in the opposite direction?
Yeah, because I got some thoughts after Washington gets back to 500 on the season at 3-3. So I'm ready to get it going.
Hit me with it. First, so for those that are new to the segment, basically Lynell gives us a take. He gives us his reasoning why, and I say, yes, that is an overreaction because X, or no, it's not. I agree with you, yada, yada. I get to be the arbiter of overreactionness. All right, hit us with your first take.
Well, I want to preface my first take by saying...
Oh, we got a preface already.
Yeah, I want to preface the first take by saying through 6 weeks, I'm gaining more and more confidence about who Sam Howell could eventually end up becoming as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. But at this point in time, 6 weeks into the season, I feel like Sam Howell is holding this Commanders offense back right now. The amount of sacks that he's taken has directly influenced their third down numbers, which are amongst the worst in the National Football League right now. And I think just overall, some of the plays he's not hitting on. And I understand you can nitpick and go through the All-22 with every quarterback across the National Football League and look at the big plays that they're not hitting down the field. But when you talk about Washington's offense and where they are right now, they're about middle of the pack in terms of scoring. They're about middle of the 20th about in yards. Points, they're somewhere around 18. So there's improvement that's been made from last year to this year. And statistically speaking, Sam Howell, in terms of QBR, I believe he's top 16. Yards, he's top 20. Touchdowns, he's top 10, I believe. Those numbers are good, but he's still on pace to take the most sacks ever in NFL history. And I think eventually it's going to come back to bite them. Now, probably won't happen this week against New York, which is all of a sudden a way friskier matchup based on how they played against Buffalo on Sunday night.
Sure.
I expect them to throw the kitchen sink at Sam Howell, and this is going to be a sloppy one, I feel like, on Sunday.
Yeah, I'd say schematically I'm scared for
I
Sam.
am.
Because Wink
terrified.
Martindale blitzes like he's, I don't know, like his hair's on fire, like his mother, sister, daughter, son, second cousin, and Monkey's uncle also has their hair on fire.
It's lit with
and
him.
somehow blitzes are going to solve those problems. I don't know where that analogy got lost. Probably somewhere around the hair being on fire. To me, that take is classic bad headline, good story. Like the way you phrased the headline that Sam Howell is holding the Commanders' offense back, I hate. I hate it with every fiber of my being.
Overreaction Tuesday.
Your explanation is very good. Because I also think that there are things Sam is doing to elevate this offense.
Yes.
The velocity he has, some of the creative throws he's made. I mean, God, if he hits that ball to Jahan, the one that Jahan drops, like that.
Even on the screen pass, the touchdown to B-Rob, like that showed the maturity to me of the offense to have the play completely break down and then you score off of it.
I mean, that's partially a design screen, but like he makes it happen.
They run into
like that was not how it was drawn up, but he still figures out a way to get the ball to B-Rob. They avoid somehow, probably because the refs missed it, an illegal man downfield, and then B-Rob runs through a dude's chest.
Yeah.
So there are things that Sam is doing to elevate this offense. The sacks is its biggest problem. I'll come back to that as that is the crux of it in a second. But like when you phrase it, he's holding this offense back, it makes it seem like there's a better option, and there's not. And I think that you probably agree on that.
Yes,
it's just as an inconvenient part that makes the taste less spicy, the take less
Correct,
spicy.
yeah.
That once we acknowledge, well, okay, then what?
Because Jacoby's not doing what Sam is doing with this offense. I don't believe he's got the athleticism to do it. I think what you mentioned, how Sam is elevating this group, a lot of that has to do with the off-schedule stuff that he's doing, and the accuracy, I think, is better than Jacoby's as well.
Yeah, and the velocity, the decisiveness on the quick game. Like, there's a lot of great stuff Sam is doing. If Diami could catch a deep ball, he'd have 2 touchdowns the last couple of weeks.
Do you think he got hooked on the one last week?
Maybe a little bit, but I think that's like a one-handed catch that a lot of NFL receivers make and try to. And like you kind of anyone who's run to try to catch a football full speed is like try to make that one-handed.
Yeah.
And like
we've all been there.
Yeah, you're like, why didn't I try two hands on that one? And it's like because it's hard to get that second hand out and across.
Right.
Point is though, for the sacks, it is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's a twofold problem. One, it is hurting the offense as is. Two, every sack he takes makes it more likely that the next one is going to be the one that knocks him out for some extended period of time. You just can't take this many and expect to continue performing at a high level. Because even let's say he doesn't get fully knocked out. Let's say there's no major injury. Like a bruised shoulder is a big issue for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And like we've seen guys take knocks. Like Lamar's had this the last couple of years where it's like he can play, but he's not 100% and it affects his play. And so how many more of these hits is he going to take to get till we're at that point? And I think that is a scary thing for Sam. And you're right that a lot of these, if not all of these, are on him. The offensive line is doing a very good job. I do wonder if, like, not that the play calling's bad, but is it bad for Sam? That's a question that Evie and Sam need to work out quickly. So, like, don't love the way the headline's written.
Yeah.
It's clickbaity, but your article's good.
Well, there it goes. We got the people to at least click the link, right?
That's right. All right, it's Overreaction Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show. Lynell gives us a take. We say whether or not it's an overreaction. Take number 2. Off we go.
Yeah, I'm going to stick.
Wait, but when we do it here, by the way, I guess we could do it this way. You ready for the big fancy? Big fancy.
Number 2.
Oh, hello, big voice guy. Nice to hear from you.
Hi, Jim.
Where do I want to go with this? My second overreaction is actually, I'll go with a positive overreaction. I think Washington's offensive line has been the biggest surprise of the season. Good surprise.
Yeah.
We taped earlier for overtime that I'm doing here tonight, and we threw out a couple of nuggets from Pro Football Focus, and I understand that PFF is not gospel.
It's not, but it's as good as we got.
It's a good indicator. Washington right now, I believe, is 9th in overall pass blocking efficiency and 12th with their pass block grade as a team. So when you take those numbers into account with the amount of dropbacks that Sam has had to this point, you got to be looking at them and saying, whew. And I'm going to poke the bear here a little bit. I disagree. Our good friend and colleague, Nikki Javala, joined B. Mitch and Finley earlier today and was kind of like saying, you won't really know what Sam is until you put a better offensive line around him. And I just don't think that's true. They have, for all the criticism and skepticism we had coming out of camp, through the first 6 weeks, they have blown me out of the water in terms of my expectations of what they were going to be. I think they've been more than serviceable. I think they've, part of it, I think, why he's taking so many sacks, he's grown comfortable with this group, knowing that I can hold it a little bit longer because they're protecting me. I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I think Nikki's comment is interesting because, what's Sam if you put him behind the Eagles O-line? And I think that's almost like an aspirational, you could really find out what this guy could do, at his maximal level if you put him behind a great O-line. And this goes to, the resource management question that we have about this team spending a first-rounder on another corner last year, taking a wide receiver. And it's like, how much money and how many first-round picks are you going to put into the same 3 positions, as opposed to what if you actually invested in the O-line? And it goes to a question that Logan and I have talked about a lot, that we've talked about a lot, that, Anthony and I have talked about a lot on the show, and so has everyone else. Yeah, what they've done is okay, but, what if they optimize this roster? That is the key question. I'm trying to think of, back to your original point, your original take, if you will, most positive surprise. I think you're probably right. I think they probably at times could be a little better.
Maybe.
I mean, Sam's kind of been what I thought, but they also had higher expectations. I think nationally, probably Sam, although I think we're going to get to, because, we were going to talk about the, what's his name, Eric Eager, quote from Sheehan's show at 6 o'clock, but I don't know if we're going to make it there. I think Lynell's top is about to burst on that one.
It's interesting.
But, nationally, clearly, I think Sam has been a positive surprise for a lot of people. Curtis, I think, has been a lot better than a lot of people have expected. I think Kendall's been phenomenal, and that's a lot of
Outside
people
of the
were
Chicago
ready,
game, I would say,
ready to cut him. Even the Chicago game, he gets beat by 2 ridiculously good throws, and one of which he gets his hands on. And situationally, he makes the right read. He just doesn't execute. But largely, Kendall's been really good, where people were ready to cut him. I mean, Logan Thomas, same thing. He's been really good. And people were ready to cut him. But have any of those surpassed expectations the way the O-line has? Probably not. There's still some people that are stragglers on like what's actually happening with the O-line that think this is all the O-line's fault and that they stink. But like, what are you going to do with those people? I don't know.
I'm starting to slowly block the noise out with that, and like
your past set's real good on that one.
Yeah, there we go. But no, seriously, like it's frustrating to me because like I think what people are getting caught up with is seeing individual guys get beat on a play, and it goes back to what I said at the top of this. When you are dropping back 40 times in a football game, hell yeah, you're going to get beat on a pass block rep.
Right.
These are other paid professionals that you're going up against. And it's not like we have individually like just super all-star Pro Bowl talent.
Right.
They're making chicken salad out of, well, I don't want to say chicken you-know-what because it's not chicken you-know-what, but you get what I'm saying. They're doing the best with what they got.
For sure. And like, shout out to Corn Lucas who had a hell of a game on Sunday on short notice and in emotional circumstances, obviously continuing to send our best to Charles Leno and his family. But like, yeah, I think the O-line's been good. And especially like you said, with the sheer number of dropbacks, like I think their O-line, like Washington's O-line played better than Atlanta's, but like Washington's gave up 5 sacks and Atlanta's gave up 3? But like Desmond Ridder was freaked out half the game and like throwing the ball all over the place, and he's getting rid of the ball faster than almost any quarterback in the league on Sunday because he's got to. Like there was a pressure. Keim had this ridiculous stat on his podcast. There was one point where like I think James Smith-Williams came through on a stunt in 1.6 seconds and he doesn't even get a sack. Like if you get in the backfield in 1.6 seconds, that's an auto sack.
Right.
Like Desmond Ridder got rid of the ball. I also might have been the play that he threw the lollipop to Benjamin St. Juste. So tells you what we got there. All right, Overreaction Tuesday.
Number 3.
What you got?
Third overreaction, I'm going to go to the defensive side of the football, and it's something that has continued to concern me. Tackling seems to be an issue with this defense. And as you look ahead at the schedule, I'm not going to just act like I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to go to New York Sunday and win because we know how these matchups have gone over the past couple of years.
Not great, Bob.
Saquon Barkley scares me. He just does. He's the type of back, and I know Bijan's that type of back, and they did a nice job overall, I think, corralling him and limiting his impact. But I think Brian Dable and Ken Dorsey are going to scheme it up a lot better than what Arthur Smith and company did on Sunday. So I think if they don't tackle Sunday, they'll lose. So I think the Giants do have some guys that can make you miss in space, but they're having their own problems offensively. I don't really look at the Giants game with that issue. I look more ahead in the schedule, like against Philadelphia. Seattle is a really tough test that you got coming up. So the Thanksgiving matchup with Dallas, I know we're getting ahead in the schedule, but you're getting ready to enter quite literally the most pivotal portion of your season.
I will say,
and that's got to improve.
Yeah, I will say
the opponents.
I will say that's not an overreaction, but I do have faith that it won't be a massive issue. Here's why.
Okay.
Tackling in the NFL has been atrocious across the board early in seasons for however many years it's been since the CBA changed. They don't tackle in preseason or in training camp, and nobody plays in the preseason anymore. So the thing that you don't practice at all is the thing that everybody sucks at.
Makes sense.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Well, as you get later in the season, you have more reps and like you remember how to do it.
You're better.
And so hopefully it gets better as the season goes. I think this weekend against the Giants is an interesting matchup because you're correct. Like Saquon's slippery. He's really hard to bring down. Yeah. He understands angles. He is a home run threat on every play. He also has maybe the worst O-line in the league at the moment. They are terrible. And they're not good to start with, and they're banged up. And like Andrew Thomas obviously being out is massive. Yeah. Their starting left tackle has been out for the entire year, last 3 weeks,
like
whatever
last
it's been.
4 weeks.
Yeah, he's been out for a while at this point. And
Evan Neal is struggling bad. Yeah.
The only thing he's doing worse than playing O-line is talking about himself playing O-line. And it's just it's really bad. And so I do think that this D-line can be dominant. And even if you miss a tackle in the backfield and you slow a guy up, like, can you rally to the football and make plays? And that's kind of what they did against Atlanta. It's like there's some times that Bijan slipped a tackle or two, but the cavalry was coming.
Exactly.
And so can you continue to gang tackle? Can you continue to rally to the football? Barton's gotten better and better every week to the point where you're like, okay, he's playing at a good level now. There's still like the Cody Barton stinks Twitter crew, and like that's fine, but he's gotten better and better every week. This was by far his best game, and he's like starting to make plays at and behind the line of scrimmage. Jamin is making plays at and behind the line of scrimmage. Duran's going to make 1 or 2 plays a game that you're just like, what was that?
Yeah.
So are there missed tackles? Yeah. James had 1 or 2. Chase had 1 or 2. Those guys are still trying to figure it out. What does Percy do? That's always a big question, obviously, as a backup. But I do think that they'll be able to corral some of those problems as the season goes. But yeah, you're right. Like, how do you give up big plays? You miss tackles and let guys shake loose, and that has been a problem so far this year.
It's been an issue for him. I do think the opponent coming up here in this stretch of play, the stretch of ball that they're about to have, you're going to find out exactly what you are and if you're an NFC playoff contender or not.
I mean, yeah, if you can't beat New York, that's a problem.
That's how I felt about the Chicago game. But
yeah, I mean, Chicago's such a weird team, man.
Yeah.
They're so potently explosive, and they were on a short week, and you're coming off overtime.
Yeah.
I'm willing to throw that game out if you play well against New York. If you go to New England and or it's New England coming here, whichever way it is.
Yeah, you're at New England back to back.
Yeah,
Seattle and New England back to back. It's a tough trip.
It is, but if you take care of business in New England, they're not very good.
You're about to get me to my next overreaction, Craig.
Okay, well, let's
final,
go.
Final
4.
Probably final one.
Final one. And I know the fans out there listening are going to probably rolling their eyes when I say this because it feels like I'm so Jekyll and Hyde in terms of my evaluation of this team. After Sunday and after week 6 and watching everyone play and looking at the remaining schedules for everyone within the NFC East, I think Washington, it's not really an overreaction. I think Washington should be considered a contender to win this division still. Philadelphia, their next 8-game stretch, you could probably say it's the most difficult in the last 10 years of who they're playing, where they're playing. Dallas isn't playing particularly well last night. I thought Dak Prescott really silenced a lot of his critics with some of the stuff he did off schedule yesterday.
By the way, congrats to him for finding CeeDee Lamb and getting
me
the 18 fantasy points that I needed to win that game. He got me 18.1. I needed 18.
Well, there you go.
So
take it how you take it.
Anyway,
but
continue your much more important point.
I just think Washington, I think the Atlanta game is one of those wins that could hopefully have a trickle-down effect and give you the confidence that you need moving forward. You got to handle your business against New York. Looking at the Philly matchup, I think you belong in the same conversation as them. I really do. And that's the
is
overreaction.
Where you lose me. That is an overreaction.
This is my thing. Jalen Hurts isn't playing good football right now. And this was the diatribe that I've been on all summer. I didn't think he was going to play good football this year. Here's another headline. I think he's a $200 million leader. I don't know how good of a quarterback he is. When you have A.J. Brown, who makes you right 90% of the time when you throw him the football, right? The throws, some of the turnovers that he's had this year, by the way, he's second in the NFL in interceptions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the turnovers he's had this year,
not good.
Inexplicable. And I understand, yeah, he's a young quarterback, but he's not. He's not young at the pay window on Monday when he's collecting this huge salary that he's making. They're going to have issues moving forward because I don't think he's the type of quarterback that's going to be able to elevate the guys around him. But in terms of the remainder of this season, I think Philly is getting ready to go into a tailspin. That's what I think.
That is that to me is an overreaction. I think
look at the schedule. How
defensively they're still good.
Yeah, but they're banged up in the secondary, and they're going to go up against some offenses that will challenge them.
That's a good point, and we'll see. I also think that you're a little too harsh on Jalen. Is he deserving of being the most high or one of the 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the league?
No.
Probably not. But he does elevate the offense and everybody in it because of his ability to run, and it just changes what defenses can do, right? He doesn't have to go sit back like Burrow does and dissect a defense, because if you play the kinds of coverage structures that you play against Burrow, Jalen takes off running and he kills you. And so, he doesn't have to take the same test. And so I think for Burrow or for Hurts, let's remember where the floor is on weeks where he's not throwing 3 picks, and realize most weeks he's not going to throw 3 picks.
His best game of the year was against us.
Yeah. That doesn't really help the Commanders' case.
Look at some of the throws that he made in that game, though. The whole shot that he threw to A.J. Brown where Cam Crow makes the hit on the sideline, that's his best throw of the season, maybe.
Maybe, but he's still got it in him, and I trust Jalen Hurts.
How consistently is he going to do it?
I trust Jalen Hurts' character. And you talk about him being a $200 million leader. He's a $200 million leader.
No,
he's that good. I trust his competitive character, his intelligence. I trust Jalen Hurts to figure it out to the extent that he will. Probably not to the level he was last year where he was MVP.
Yeah.
But very, very high level quarterbacking, like still top 10 in the league, I think, probably by the time it's all said and done, because he is most weeks pretty accurate with the football.
Yeah.
And he's also adjusting to a new coordinator. Like, let's not forget that. Like, Shane Steichen left. How does he vibe with the new play caller there in Philadelphia? What did they lose from Steichen? I know it was his quarterback's coach, but like still, what did they lose from Steichen that Jalen is still trying to figure out? And he still has those guys. He still has A.J. Brown. He still has Devontae Smith. Like, they've got a running game. They've got the best O-line in football. Like,
that's the one thing that kind of gives me a little bit of pause about Philly. The last, them and Washington, quite frankly, the last 3 weeks to a month, Philly on the ground hasn't been their dominant selves. Now, it's also translated into some really big-time Jalen Hurts passing game performances. So I guess it's kind of a pick your poison. They're doing what teams – they're basically letting the defense dictate how they're going to attack. So,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I do not think that Washington belongs in the same sentence as Philly. That does not mean they can't compete with them every time they line up. But that's like a divisional thing. That's a familiarity thing. There is some the talent disparity is not as big as a lot of people would think, but like it's big in areas that matter, aka the O-line
and quarterback.
Quarterback, yeah, it's closer than a lot of national people think. It's not as close as some of the local people think. Put it that way. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Lynnell Willingham with us every Tuesday for Overreaction Tuesday in the 5 o'clock hour. And tonight he is now going to go rest up. And then
rest up.
Off he goes. You got to recharge the battery, man.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it rolling. Honestly, I'm hot right now.
Okay, just go start running laps.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
6:30 tonight over on 106.7 The Fan for overtime. Following Grant and Danny, of course, you can listen on your radio and on the free Odyssey app. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll do it again next week.
Yes, indeed. When we get back, it's something that Lynell might just sit outside and scream through the window for this. Eric Eager is an analyst. He's smart. And he said something that I think is very dumb about Sam Howell.
Ooh, what a...
Final hour of the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock hour, it's a Wizards game day. Of course, you're home for Wizards basketball here on the Team 980. So 6:15, we'll be joined by Dave Johnson. It's a Wednesday, so we also should have Clinton Yates. Never read the comments tomorrow. But we got plenty more to do today. And Anthony's still vibing. Sometimes I catch him with the song's not playing over the air anymore, but he's still got it going in his studio.
Yeah, it was in queue for sure. And
Just
grooving a little bit.
Just grooving just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. All right. So earlier today, Eric Eager was on Kevin Sheehan's show. Eric is a NFL analyst. He works in the analytics space some, and he said something that was very, very catchy in terms of a headline catches your attention about Sam Howell. And I'm going to let this play in totality. It's 58 seconds long, and then we'll see how aggressively we want to respond. Anthony, you ready for this?
I think so.
All right. Ready, set, and we play.
I think Sam Howell is a very good backup quarterback in the NFL. He can get in there. You look at contrast with Tyrod Taylor on Sunday night against the Bills, and it's like that's a guy that's not going to lose you a game. I think Sam Howell can lose you a game, sacks and interceptions and things like that, but he can win you a game too, which I think is very characteristic of the guy that he was preceded by in Taylor Heineke. I don't know if he's a long-term answer. Sack rates are incredibly stable year to year. It's hard to shake that. And so if I'm Washington, I'm obviously looking to a different place at that position. But as far as a bridge to the future, while you're trying to figure out whether or not you want to, continue the course with Ron Rivera, possibly move to somebody like Eric Bieniemy or something completely different, I think that he's been fine.
Anthony, I'm curious what you think of this before I give my thoughts. What did you think of what he said there?
I equated it to more so sort of kind of like what Lynell was getting at a little bit in terms of if Sam Howell can't, do away with, the sacks and things of that nature, that is going to be a detriment to like who he is as a player. Yeah. And there's not a lot of growth. He can go from there. And he started talking about the numbers. Like, you don't just magically go from taking 10 sacks a game to taking 0 a game. It's a natural progress. So
it's not even like you make progress. Like, that's the thing that I want to get so mad at that. I was ready. I was kind of amping myself up to just take it down. I was like, I could see the YouTube hits just skyrocket. I was like, it's about to be a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 view video, just roasting this guy. Problem is, what he said is correct outside of the one sentence. Or like, it's really just putting a modifier on the one sentence. Sam Howell is a backup quarterback. It should be like, currently, Sam Howell is a high-end backup quarterback who, and I don't even know if that's true, man, because like they are 3-3 with him. I don't know. Depends on where you draw your starter line and like how well you need them to play to be like, yeah, that guy's a bona fide starter. Like I just think he's so inexperienced that to say this is who he is as a finished product, when you've seen so much high upside stuff from him, to put that label on him, to me, is unnecessary, silly, and asking to be on Freezing Cold Takes or Old Takes Exposed or whatever one of those websites you want in a couple of years. You also might very well wind up right that Sam Howell winds up having a 15-year career that is mostly as a backup in the league that wins a bunch of games, and every time he gets in, you're like, man, could this guy figure it out? Then he plays for 4 games for someone and takes 4 sacks a game in those 4 games, and you're like, nope, not going to work. And I think the thing that I can't figure out with Sam is he going to figure out the sack thing? Because it really is a fatal flaw. And it's so bizarre and it's so hard to figure out because if you were to do a cut up of every play Sam Howell had this year and say, and omit the sacks, you were just to trick someone. You were to take an independent analyst, like someone who, fell asleep a couple years ago, like really smart football person, wakes up out of their coma, and you're like, hey, there's this kid Sam Howell in Washington. I want to know what you think of him. You have the freshest eyes because you're actually a science experiment of some kind. Here's his cut up. Here's every play this season. And you just didn't tell this person that you omitted the sacks. They'd be like, this guy's awesome. Like, who is he? Where did he come from? Why? Wait, tell me more about him. He's a 5th round pick? Whoa. You're like, just kidding. Look at this. And they'd be like, whoa, that's a problem. His good is so good. And then his bad is just like this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's like, I struggle with in evaluating Sam, and maybe I'm too close to it in this, is the sacks are coming in very specific situations. And to me, the more specific the problem, the easier it is to fix. And that's where I don't know what the historical trends say, because data doesn't come inherently with context. You have to do a much deeper study of here are the quarterbacks that have sack percentages above X. And Sam right now is like the worst ever. He's literally on pace, of course, as we've said, to take more sacks than anyone else in a single season in NFL history, right? But let's take a threshold that includes like the 25 worst sack seasons ever. Like, how old were the quarterbacks? What were their O-lines like? What systems did they play in? What kind of situations do they take sacks in? Because this is the thing that's tripping me up about him and the sacks is they're not coming on like 1st and 10. They're not coming on 2nd and 3. He's not, I'm rolling out and I can't get rid of it fast enough, like Desmond Ridder on one of the KC 2 Hill sacks this weekend. They are, I'm standing back here on 2nd and long or 3rd and long, and I'm trying to make a play down the field, and I try to escape the pocket, and I get myself sacked. And if that is the problem, eventually I would think he learns how to escape the pocket effectively, or he learns how to get rid of the football and manipulate the pocket a little bit better. They're so specific that I think he can get out of them in a way that other quarterbacks haven't. But Eric is 100% right that sack percentage and like the stats that are under the hood bad for Sam Howell, the data that you would look at, he can't overcome it. That historically, that's not something that changes. And if that's the case, I'm telling you, like, as easy as it would be for me to be the hometown radio guy going, that national guy's an idiot, watch the film, how can you say Sam Howell's a backup? If I'm being honest, I'd be the one with the hot take, not him. And I hate that because I really like Sam Howell.
I think you said it perfectly, to be honest. But like to your point, I feel as though, on the high end backup, comment, it's more so if you can be good, but you got to be consistently good, and that's what we haven't seen out of Sam. Like we want to see him, consistently, be able to navigate the pocket, deliver, sustain drives and things like that. Against the Eagles, he's had his moments. Against the
Broncos, he had his moments.
The Broncos, he had his moments. The second half of the Bears game, he sort of kind of had
he threw
his
for
moments.
388 against the Bears.
Yeah, so like we see the glimpses, but again, if you want to be a QB1 in this league, you got to be consistently good, or you're gonna resort and be like, quote unquote, this a high end backup.
Right, and so here's the other thing that I would push back against Eric against, and he's right, but he's wrong. And that's this. The idea that, they should be looking somewhere else at that position. There's no rush. It's the opposite side of the coin of people that are like, do you think, and I was asked this on a podcast, my guy Deuce, Red Zone in the Lab podcast, he asked me this. I think Lynell asked me this last week. Is Sam Howell a franchise quarterback? I don't know. And I don't have to know right now, and they don't have to know right now, because you're not making a quarterback change between now and the end of the season. And there's no way to acquire a franchise quarterback between now and the end of the season. So quit worrying about making a definitive, declarative statement of whether or not Sam Howell's a franchise quarterback right now, because you don't have to. Do you want to marry the girl? I don't know. I just met her. You don't have to get married right now. There's no deadline. You can date for a while. Maybe you go engagement ring after the season. God, that's such a classic, terrible sports radio analogy. But it really is. People want to know, are you getting married right now? And it's I don't have to decide. Why are you forcing me to answer this question?
Mm-hmm.
That is, I understand people want to know. And it is something that, week by week, we should evaluate and be trending in a good direction, trending in a bad direction. And maybe eventually there's enough data to be yep, good. But even then, you don't need to sign him to an extension. You just we're going to be able to invest resources in other places because we don't have to go sign, trade for, or draft a first-round quarterback. Sweet. Okay. There's no need to decide right now. So just watch, hopefully enjoy, and let it happen. See, I did get fired up this segment after all. Just not at Eric Eager. Didn't see that one.
It was good.
Didn't see that one coming. The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, we can take a couple calls on that at 301-230-0980, or you'll hear from Commanders defensive lineman Jonathan Allen. Coming up at 6:30, a fun, wacky bit. Kenny, are you inside my brain?
No way you were thinking about this song.
I was. So we're moving in a couple weeks.
Ooh!
And we got like a new place, and like the lease is going to be hitting my inbox in any second. And I was like thinking about play this song because obviously that's a very exciting thing. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting here back in my chair like this, way back away from the microphone, chilling. And in comes the beat. And I'm like, are we in reality? Is this in my head? What's going on?
Hey, look, I don't know.
Did you play this song earlier? Is that why it was in my head?
No,
You
I
didn't
didn't
just play it like back to back, did you?
No, I didn't play this song. I played James Brown, I Feel Good.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, Rock With You.
Uh-huh.
I played some In the Club, 50 Cent.
You did?
What else? Beyonce to start the show.
Yeah, which, I mean, always welcome.
And then I played Lynnell's theme song, DOA, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
I think that's all the songs I played.
There's a joke about Linnell's takes also being DOA, but that's
That's actually hilarious. He might still be listening.
yeah. I mean, he's over there getting ready for overtime, because he gets started very soon. Yeah, that was weird, like in kind of a good way. Kind of enjoyed that. I was like, what's going on? Am I giving off celebration vibes? Just wait and keep refreshing the email. Got to get that lease in the inbox, get our signatures on it. And then we got to move. That's the crap part about it, getting a new place. You're like, yeah, we got a new place. We found the thing we wanted. Woo! We got to pack and move and stuff. Rats.
How many times have you moved?
I've actually been fairly lucky the last decade that I've only moved twice.
Lucky you.
Yeah, so I moved, obviously, every year of college I moved. I never stayed in the same place. And, a couple years I moved twice.
Yeah.
I moved Syracuse, I moved from, a dorm my first semester and onto a South Campus house my second semester.
BBB?
No. I was in, God, what's, the main building?
Ernie.
No, not
Oh,
Ernie.
Ernie wasn't
on
there.
South. On South.
The dorm?
Yeah.
UV? University Village?
I don't think so. It's where the cafeteria is.
Oh,
on South. I've been gone a long
Goldstein,
time, bro.
Goldstein.
Yes. I was in Goldstein. Then I was in one of the houses, not off campus, but on South Campus, one of those apartments.
Yep.
And then I lived off campus on Genesee. We were way late. So
Yeah, I know.
We got we were stuck. I literally was walking uphill both ways to school in the snow.
The new house, yep. That's
because that's how Syracuse is. It's just hills, and you're like, how am I always going up? So that was senior year, and I was there for 2, and I lived in a dorm my first year at MTSU, and then off campus my second year. Then I moved home after college. 6 weeks later, I moved to Lawrence, Kansas. 9 months later, 10 months later, I moved to Dallas. I was in one apartment for 2 years in Dallas, moved to another apartment downtown, loved the apartment, got the job up here 6 months later, had to move out. Then here, once I got to DC, I moved to Reston. I was there from 2015 to 2022.
Okay.
2021, 2022, 2021.
COVID.
And then I've been here, in my current apartment in DC with Rachel for 2 years, and then we're getting this place that's not that far away from our current place.
Oh,
but it's
yeah,
just bigger.
You haven't
So
had to move too much.
hasn't been too much lately.
Yeah.
Since 2015, once. This will be second one.
Yeah.
What about you? You still live where you went to high school, so.
Yeah. Well,
But you obviously,
I
it's a
moved
little
back
different.
home at first. I moved
Yeah.
back home to my parents, and then I moved out to prep. So.
Have you been in the same apartment at prep?
No, so we got a new building, so I had to move everything from the old building, the one when I was in high school that I lived in. We moved from that one to the super new one. It is insane. It is insane.
It's pretty nice out there.
Yeah.
I still got to come up and shoot some hoops.
Oh yeah, more than welcome. We got the tennis, we got soccer fields, we got the
Ooh,
football field.
we should do the tennis thing too. Do you play tennis at all? No.
I'm trash. I play table tennis.
Okay.
I'm really good at table tennis.
Okay.
Like really good.
Me and Wes Hall are just gonna come up there and take over your tennis courts.
Oh yeah.
Is that how you play? That's how you play table tennis?
I definitely do make sound effects when I play table tennis.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty then. So yeah, we gotta move.
If you need help and I'm free, I'll help.
We're gonna hire movers.
Oh, okay, that too.
If any moving company is listening and wants to do a little dealy deal, like contact our sales department, I would love that. But like, you get to a point as an adult where you make enough money that you can hire movers, and you look at that check and you go, God, this is a lot of money.
Yep.
And then you watch them move all your stuff, not break anything, hopefully, but typically not break anything, where you definitely would have broken something, and they do it in a third of the time, and you don't have to lift a finger, and you go, yeah, that was a lot of money, and it was worth it. Like,
you're going to be sitting there, I guess.
Like, you still have to pack, right? You
Yeah.
still, like, we're going to have to pack our dishes in the kitchen. Like, we're going to have to pack a bunch of stuff. Like, because we're on a weird timeline where, like, we're going to have access to our, like, we're not moving all in one day. We can move some stuff over the course of a couple of days, and where we're moving is very close to where we live now. So we'll do some runs. Like, we don't need the movers to move all our pictures. We're going to take them off the wall. We're going to put them in a tub, like a plastic tub. We're going to put them in our car. We're going to drive over to our new place. We're going to hang them right back on the wall. Like, we're blessed in that way with this move. But, like, our bed, the couches, like, the TVs, like, hey, buddy, that goes over there. Thanks.
Yeah.
100% the right play.
That's going to be nice.
Yeah.
I've never done that. Maybe I will one day.
You want to come over and watch? You'll be like, wow,
Possibly.
that is... I now know what this looks like. I am never moving myself again. 2 incomes also helps in that regard.
That too. Or I can just, I have my frat brothers. That's who I really lean on.
You're also, you're 27, 28?
Yep.
Yeah,
27.
you guys are getting to the point where you're at the very end of the help each other move bit. Like, still for sure. You're in that age where, like, yeah, it's cool. You just call your boys, and the pizza and whatever else you got to buy is way less than hiring movers.
Yep.
But yeah, you start getting some adult pieces of furniture too, and you're like, I care a little bit more if that gets broken.
Yep.
Let's hire a professional.
Yeah.
With insurance. Yeah. So
that's a great point.
That's where we're at. This John Allen bite's really long, man.
Yeah. Oh, the one on
the one do your job. Yeah. What's the crux of it? Did he like the do your job?
That's a great question.
You didn't listen to it. You just saved. They cut it. Oh, the Junkies cut it.
Yeah.
Like the Junkies didn't cut it. The Junkies producers cut it.
Yes.
If you had to pick one sports junkie to cut a soundbite, to work Adobe Audition, who would you pick? Who do you think is most likely to be able to do it?
Cakes?
I feel like it's Cakes or JP.
Yeah, definitely those two.
Lurch and
I don't know about Lurch.
EB have cut a lot of ads, so they've definitely been in the studios, like, where they've seen it work.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like JP's done some stuff on his own, and Cakes just seems like he's got a little savvy know-how, maybe.
Yeah, that's the vibe he gives off.
Mm.
Yeah, either Cakes or JP. I don't know. One of those two.
That would be a fun digital bit. Hey, guys, here's the John Allen interview. We need you to cut bites for it. Ready, go.
I think they get around to, actually cutting what needs to be cut, but it'll probably take them some time.
Yeah.
Let's see who can do it the quickest.
Of all the hosts, it's like on the station, and honestly, if it was, I'm willing to take on the producers. You've seen me work an audition.
Yeah, you're faster than me.
So
you're going to be
all the hosts,
because I'm pretty fast.
Wiping the floor.
The thing is, I'm actually pretty fast.
I know Russell's like done a lot of his own sound editing and stuff. He's also been like a field reporter, and he does his podcasts and stuff.
Yeah,
bro.
They ain't seen you, Craig.
I am.
This man, Craig. Done. Well, how'd you do? Can you?
It's so funny. Anthony will, sometimes, like, when we cut our show promos and stuff, Anthony will have me listen to it.
Do this.
And I'll be like, Can you move that there? Can you cut that? Just let me get in here real quick. And Anthony, like at first, Anthony was like, "What are you doing? What do you mean get in here? Who do you think you are? You know how to use this fancy equipment?"
Yeah.
And then he just watches me go, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna let you get in. Hey, do you wanna just cut this real quick?"
Nah, Craig is really nice with it. Those new house.
It's the new house skills. I've also done everything. There isn't a job in a radio station, producer, anchor, host, reporter, that I haven't done. Yeah. It's been my career, man.
Yep.
I'm happy to have this one now. All right, when we get back, one of my low-key favorite articles of the year, a ranking just came out. And I'll tell you, it's NBA, and I'm stunned at where the Wizards finish. So we'll dive into that next. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, and always live as well on the free Odyssey app.
One other thing you mentioned on the positive side for Washington is the physicality of the defensive line.
Yeah.
They have ultimately 5 sacks in the game. And I think between what they did in the run game and those 5 sacks, like, you see they looked a lot more like them. And I think, one, John Allen played a lot better and was noticeable. But also, your boy, Casey Toohill,
showed up,
monster day. FA's in there making plays. Like, I think the depth in the rotation, they got it right this week, really, for the first time. I'm curious once we see the snap counts, but it kind of allowed them to play effort that we've been looking for because they did rotate it more. Those guys were fresher, and even at the end of the game, like, they're some hands on hips in that final drive, and you're like, ooh, man, are they finally going to wear out? Because they were on the field for damn near 80 plays by the end of it.
Right.
But as a total, at that point, even if you're playing 60 plays, like, it's only 3 quarters. But I do feel like they got that more correct in this game than they have all season.
No, I agree.
And the results were there.
No, I agree. I think it's, the proof is in the pudding, and I think you get good production from the backup guys. James, again, you got to watch it more. I thought James flashed at times with some good physicality. And like having those guys in is important. Like, they're NFL players, and I think if you can get a rotation going and elevate Montez and Chase and some of the other guys in that front, it just helps everybody. So it'll be cool to kind of see those snap counts and see who was effective and who wasn't. But ultimately, I think like that they've kind of laid a roadmap moving forward. Be an elite team. Like, look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got to have it. That offense, like, they are excellent at chewing clock, managing the game from an offensive perspective, and I think that's where I would say this outing from the Commanders falls a little short. Not that anybody played poorly, I think that's an important thing to note too. Is like, overall, if you went through and be like, that's pretty good, that's pretty good, that's pretty good, and you go down the list, but ultimately, there's a reason you're going 3 and out, 5 and out in the second half. And I think when we have the all-22, we'll be able to touch on that a little bit more.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Home for Wizards basketball, who they are back in action tomorrow night against the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden in the preseason. Wrap up their preseason Friday against the Toronto Raptors. Both games, 7:15 pregame, 7:30 tip here on the Team 980. So, Anthony, every year, Zach Lowe, this started with Bill Simmons, and back in the Grantland days, and Zach Lowe has kept it going at ESPN.com. They put out their annual League Pass rankings. So who are the teams that are most fun to watch and most worth watching on NBA League Pass, the league's service that allows you to watch every single game, including out-of-market games. Literally every game is available, except for the ones on national TV, because you can watch them on national TV. So the hilarity is that this is the 12th annual NBA League Pass rankings, and as Zach Lowe writes, a tradition that started a now-defunct website mostly because my old boss enjoyed making fun of the early 2010s Washington Wizards. They're not power rankings, and the 5 categories are zeitgeist. Do normal people care about this team? Highlight potential. Should you linger in case some passing savant or outrageous leaper uncorks something you have never seen again? Strategy and style. Are they fun to watch? This is where coaching factors in. League pass minutia, announcers, uniforms, courts, etc. Unintentional comedy. Those are the 5 rankings, and they do a 1 to 10 score in each, and they rank the teams. And guess who in the NBA League Pass rankings by ESPN is dead last in the league in terms of best team to watch?
Yours truly, the Wizards.
That is what Zach Lowe says.
Wow.
Sad. They only got 18 points out of a possible 50.
Was this last year's team or this year's upcoming
This year's team. And based off the 5 categories, I kind of understand why. I don't know that I agree with the ultimate result, but let's see. Zeitgeist. Do normal people care about this team? They probably got 0 points on that. Nobody cares. Highlight potential. They should get like 5 or 6 points on that. Daniel Gafford is fun to watch, dunk on people. Jordan Poole, like, he's always a potential highlight reel.
Gafford's usually on the receiving end of one of those highlights, the
I don't know
Kevin
if that
Durant
counts. Yeah,
exactly. So,
but he will dunk on some people.
oh yeah, or he did just get dunked on in the preseason, but he took a charge.
That's also true. Strategy and style. I think this is where they're probably, like, if you want hope for the Wizards, they're underrated here because they should play more fun this year than they have in the past.
Yep.
League pass minutia, announcers, uniforms, courts. They have some funky uniforms. The Cherry Blossom's not back. Their court is kind of standard most of the time. Like, Chris and Drew do a great job, but you're not like, oh, I have to tune in because something like, they're not Ian Eagle with the Nets. Chris Ian's been doing it for 30 years. There's no shot at Chris, but like, Ian's the best. Like, or Mike Breen's calling Nets games, or Knicks games. Like, they're a very solid announce crew that I think if you watch on a regular basis, like, and it's different. It's hard because I like those guys personally. And so for me, it feels like I'm watching the game with my friends. It's because, like, Chris is actually my friend. If you're a stranger, I can see why they might not score as high there. But they just do a good, solid job. And then unintentional comedy, they have gotten rid of some of the shenanigans, which hurts the ranking, but is probably good for the franchise.
Yeah, the JaVale McGee's and the Nick Youngs of the world.
Yeah,
that, I guess it sort of kind of hurts, but
it might be true.
Not really. My thing is also about the style, I guess. You said that the Cherry Blossom jerseys are gone this season. Why does Nike keep doing that?
I don't know, man.
It's like a new jersey.
They have a new. Well, they want to do like education with the City Edition jerseys, and this year they're doing like this thing with the stones that like mark the edges of DC, and it's like cool conceptually, but like the jerseys don't really look like Wizards jerseys. And this is my thing. Look, this is the topic where I sound most old man yelling at cloud, but I hate, specifically on NBA League Pass, tuning into a game, not seeing on my guide who's playing. It's just like NBA League Pass Channel 7 on my Fubo TV. And I literally don't know who's playing by looking at the court or the jerseys or anything until I can get a scoreboard. Which most of the time the scoreboard's up, but I shouldn't have to look at the scoreboard to know who's playing. Like, if I watch a game based off the court, the jerseys, I should be able to figure it out. And that's just not the case. Because, like, the Wizards this year, when they wear their City Edition jerseys, which, like, in a vacuum are very cool, look like the Suns, the Jazz, or one of the Southwestern teams.
Yeah, that's bad stuff.
They don't look like the Wizards.
Bad stuff.
And that's not a shot at the Wizards or the Wizards marketing department. It's a shot at the whole system. I think it's very silly. Maybe I'm not the target audience. It is a cool jersey. It's just not a cool Wizards jersey.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you, but also I think Kyle Kuzma, he put out a tweet yesterday commenting on the Clippers City Edition jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen those?
I have not. Let me look them up real quick.
So they got leaked yesterday, and Kuz tweeted out Nike is sort of kind of ruining the nostalgia of jerseys. Every year it's a new jersey, and what gets lost is brand identity.
That
And
is
I couldn't
100% correct.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand, what they're trying to get at, but this is more so I'm more in alignment with what the Kuz is talking about.
Is it just the black and white ones, or no? That's last year.
Go on.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a cool jersey. It's just not a Clippers jersey
At all.
That's
I
the
don't know
thing.
what that is.
I don't know, man. I'm glad that I feel better about being an old man yelling in a cloud if you're yelling with me.
Yes.
Because
I'm standing right next to you. Yes.
you're not as old as I am.
No.
So maybe you're getting there, Anthony. Maybe you should be concerned about standing next to me. Here's the write-up from Zach Lowe on the Wizards. Then we'll look at some other teams and see if we can make a case. Let's face it, the past 40 years have been leading to this moment, the Wiz, so relentlessly middling their fans quiet quit on them, slinking unseen and unheard to the basement. The John Wall Bradley Beal Wizards achieved much more than the reputation. Fast forwarding on, they're gone now. The lottery pick could redefine the franchise's next phase, hasn't arrived. That is the point of this season. Reminder, the Wiz were one ping pong ball away from Victor Wembanyama. Thanks, Zach Lowe, for that hellaciously painful reminder as Victor Wembanyama does crazy things in the preseason. But here's the dagger 2 paragraphs here. The final six first-round picks of the Beal-Wall era have amounted to very little, though both Denny Advie and Corey Kispert should grow into capable role players. Does Johnny Davis exist? We'll find out. It will be fun watching Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma battle for the team's scoring lead, while traditional point guard Tyus Jones tries to organize plays. Kispert runs around screens without ever getting the ball, and Advie waits and waits to attack a closeout. Do you think Danilo Gallinari wakes up and wonders where he is? Hell, I could use a random Davis Bertans heat check, which is funny because he's not on the team anymore. The in-game experience is forgettable. Only the Wizards could strike pay dirt with the best jersey in team history, last year's cherry blossom-themed look, and not find a way to keep it in rotation. Gafford is an ultra-violent dunker. DeLon Wright is all arms, sneak steals, and marauding offensive rebounds. I'm here for Taj Gibson cashing golden parachutes as a veteran mentor. Just not very exciting. So here's the other teams towards the bottom. Detroit Pistons. Again, I think they're sneaky fun to watch. Here's the thing. The league actually is at a point where, like, every team's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
So being worst, I guess, isn't the worst. Pistons, Raptors.
Raptors,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to watch them.
Yeah.
I love Scotty, though.
Scotty Barnes is exciting, but yeah. I would rather watch the Wizards, but again, like, I'm a homer there. I'm watching the Wizards because I care about the Wizards.
Yeah.
The Blazers, like, Scoot's fun.
They're
They're 27.
We'll be watching them.
The Bulls,
they still have pieces. They just can't get it done. I actually
the
don't
thing
like
is,
watching them.
here's what I would say. One, announced team, A+. So in that ranking, they've got my guy Adam Amin and oh God, who's his partner? I can picture him, big fella. This is gonna drive me nuts. Adam Amin, Bulls broadcast partner is Stacey King. Like, one of the funniest announced duos, and Adam's
Yeah, we
A+.
definitely had a
his
couple
job.
of their calls last year.
Yeah, the Real Things contributor on a regular basis.
Yes.
Zach LaVine is super fun. If Zach LaVine is hurt, they sink to the bottom for me. Utah, who was the last team last year.
Yeah, I could agree. I don't really want to watch them.
I don't
They
really-
have some pieces over there. Walker Kessler, he's over there. Laurie, he one of the most improved players last year.
Yeah, like, they're a fun little team, but I don't think that they're actually good.
Yeah.
Or like that fun to watch. Brooklyn, like, I don't know if Ben Simmons is healthy.
Ben Simmons has been playing all right in the preseason.
If
I mean, it
he's-
is the preseason though.
If he's healthy, any team he's on is more fun because you automatically play up tempo when the ball moves around a little bit.
Yep.
But, like, they're not that exciting.
No, Mikal and Cam Johnson.
But I guess I can't say they're any less exciting than the Wizards, though. Like, I know I love my Jordan Poole, but the Magic, like, they're kind of low-key fun.
Markelle Fultz, baby.
Yeah, he looks good. Banchero, Wagner, Jalen Suggs. They got dudes. The Heat are at 22. Like,
I hate watching the Heat. I love Jimmy. Jimmy's actually one of my favorite players, but I hate watching.
The thing is,
them play.
here's another thing that's going for the Heat. Their games matter because they're good.
Yeah.
The Hornets are at 21. They've got LaMelo. They're exciting. The Clippers are at 20. Like,
they're just old.
They're just old, but again, they're good and their games matter. The Rockets are 19. They could be fun. I don't know. Dylan Brooks is playing for them, so they're automatically
I don't
bottom
watch
of my
them.
list.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're building anything that special, but we'll see with
Jalen Green, baby, watch out.
I know he's really good, but okay.
What else? Yep.
Knicks are at 18. They're fun to watch in big games at the Garden. Am I watching them on a random Tuesday on League Pass? Probably not. The Hawks, I don't like watching the Hawks, but I don't know. That could change with Quinn Snyder. He's a very good coach. So they might become more fun to watch. The Grizzlies are at 16. Obviously,
I will be watching those guys.
Yeah, they'll be more fun when Ja gets back. The Pelicans at 15.
Zion, healthy.
If he's healthy, and that's the first thing Zach writes. Inputs 55 Zion games, and the algorithm shoots New Orleans way up. Of course, that number would constitute almost exactly half of Williams' career games over 4 seasons.
Sadly.
Look, Ingram and CJ is still good, but they belong in the middle because Zion. They've got the Spurs at 14 because of
Wemby.
Victor. The Thunder at 13.
Jay, baby.
The Pacers at 12.
Ooh, that's pretty high.
They are low-key kind of fun. They feel like they're not supposed to be because they're the Pacers, but Tyrese Halliburton, Rick Carlisle coached offense, and Benedict Mathurin.
And Buddy shooting endless threes.
Yeah, Jarris Walker, the rookie. Yeah. And then they've got the Cavs at 11, and then the 1 through 10 is not out yet.
Wow.
So,
who do you think is going to be number 1?
Golden State's probably still number 1. I would rather watch them than any other team still because of Steph.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else.
I mean, you can have the Lakers.
The Lakers are going to obviously in the top 10. We didn't say them.
The Celtics.
The Celtics they're going to be fun. The Sixers.
Oh, the Suns.
The Suns. I'd rather watch Golden State. Joker and the Nuggets. I'd rather watch Steph than anybody else. Yep. Still. Single-handedly, create a new category. Has Stephen Curry 50 points out of 50.
Wow.
All right. Those are the League Pass rankings. Get your League Pass now. All right. I don't know why I said that. The NBA did not ask me to, and they certainly didn't pay me to. Get your League Pass if you want it, because that's capitalism. Okay, we get back here on the Hoffman Show. It's time for Real Things Real People Said into real microphones. it up here on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Appreciate everyone listening all show long. You missed any part of it, though. You can, of course, go on YouTube, rewind on the stream. You can check out the podcast. You can rewind in the Odyssey app. You can also check out some of the highlights that I'll post up a little later on my page at Craig Hoffman on the old YouTubes. Tomorrow on the show, we got Never Read the Comments. We should have Clinton Yates talking a little playoff baseball. And we'll see what else Clinton wants to talk about.
NFL tiers.
Oh, yeah. So last year we did our NFL tier rankings. We put every team in tiers because that's better than trying to rank them 1 through 32. So we're going to bring that back now that we have like 6 weeks worth of data, and we'll start doing that weekly. So pretty pumped for that. Sam Howell and Ron Rivera speak. I think that's what we got. And Dave Johnson's on the show because it's a Wizards game day. So that's pretty much the show tomorrow. So, join us at 4 o'clock. Stay locked in. And we'll make sure your afternoon is enjoyable. Anything else to add, Anthony Haney?
Tomorrow's Hump Day.
Thanks for your contributions.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11. Not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
All right, we got some leftovers, real things from yesterday, some good ones. Mike McDaniel was on Kyle Shanahan's staff in Cleveland when Johnny Manziel was the quarterback. And there was, of course, the Manziel doc that came out on Netflix, and the big clip that went viral was Johnny watched no film at all. And they can tell on the iPads, how much film are you watching? And he never even logged in. And Mike McDaniel was on The Pivot, Ryan Clark's podcast, and confirmed what had already been confirmed and gave his perspective on it. Johnny Manziel literally watched no film.
I was there, and I was getting the reports of zero. That is real.
How do you go to the GM coach and say, hey, man, look, Johnny don't know nothing. He ain't look at no film.
I tried to stay in my lane at that time. It was kind of a hairy situation. It's up in the air whether or not there was congruence of thought in that draft selection, let's say. So we knew what it was, and at that time, it was more like, see, Yeah, that was a wild time there.
Yeah, those Cleveland days seemed like they were pretty nuts. The Manziel doc's pretty good, by the way.
I still haven't seen it.
It's good. It's incomplete as a lot of those Netflix sports docs are, but it's good. Worth the time.
Is he in it? Do they question him?
Oh yeah, no,
okay.
He's featured in it.
Yeah,
he owns up to a lot of stuff. There's some other stuff that probably a little unsaid, but is what it is. John Allen on the Sports Junkies was asked about Emmanuel Forbes being benched, and that bite is far too long to play given the time we have left in the show. So you should go check out. I was like, let me pick the shorter John Allen bite. Nope, it's still too long considering how much time we have left in the show. For the full John Allen interview on Mondays, make sure that you check that out. Sports Junkies podcast feed. We were just talking about NBA and Victor Wembanyama bolting the Spurs up in the rankings for watchability. Greg Popovich was asked during one of the preseason games what the weakness is in Wemby's game.
Thank you so much, Coach. We've seen Victor Wembanyama do a lot of things on both sides of the ball. Where is his deficit?
Where's his what?
Deficit. The deficit in his game. Does it exist?
I don't want to talk badly about one of my players.
You said you would be sweet. I like that. I appreciate it. So good to be back with you here.
That's Stephanie Reddy on TNT.
Yeah.
I've got a Stephanie Reddy story that I can't I just don't have the time to tell it.
Too long.
Short version is she was a coach for the minor league team, the former G League team that was in my hometown when I was a kid. That's my Stephanie Reddy story. We're out of show, so we'll see you tomorrow. It's Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well. Free Odyssey app.